Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 700K Solopreneur. This is going to be an incredible time of us spending time together, going step by step in how to implement this amazing system. As we go through this experience today, I do have a friend with me. His name is Devesh. He has been my strategic advisor and primary business coach on all things business and systems, methodologies, and frameworks. He's helped this process come alive, and he's going to be here today spending time with us as we talk through how to implement this system step by step in your business. Here's what I will tell you. This is not a course. This is not where you just learn about theories. This is an implementation session. I want you to pretend that we have our computers pulled up side by side. I'm going to walk you through every step that's required to focus on your skill, your offer, your lead generation, and sales. So this is going to be your masterclass in how to build a business like I have year after year, generating $700,000 a year. I'm going to give you everything that you need to know to make that a reality. So thank you for being here. We're so excited. Devesh, what's excited you about this process if we've started doing this?
Super excited to be here, man. Mostly because the persona that we are going to serve with this program, with this methodology is very near and dear to my heart, because not only it's the people that I have served in the past and continue to serve, but it's also myself. I relate with this persona myself because I have been that solopreneur, right? I have been that consultant. I've been that skill knowledge worker who has tried to make money with the skill and knowledge that I have. So super excited. We have been talking about it for such a long time.
Yeah, dude.
So to get in the same room and lay it all out and having all those discussions and finally having it on paper where we can now execute and help more people, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, feels good.
It's incredible, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I know you've prepared a lot of questions. Part of my process as an entrepreneur and growing as an entrepreneur has been getting a lot of the systematized ideas that I have in my mind and getting them into actionable steps. There's a lot of knowledge there. And I feel like a lot of the people we relate to and who are going to be a part of this program feel like their mind is filled with so much expertise, but they're that genius who can't necessarily figure out how to get a system, a method, a process, a step-by-step. They're sitting in front of their screen many days going, I know that I'm not earning what I'm capable of. I know I'm in a position in my life of where I need to make it happen, but maybe the thing that I used to do before, it innovated and the platforms switched. There's challenges and changes in the market. So now they need to get to the other side of what the promised land looks like. And I know you prepared a lot of questions. So as we go through this today, I know that there's a lot of ideation and questions and prompting that you're going to have as I'm teaching these concepts. But the thing that I want to ask you today is, when we just look at overarching for the people who are going to be here, what are some questions that you think that they might be asking?
So I believe there's two types of people when we talk about this solopreneur. And one is a single skill solopreneur. Imagine an accountant or a videographer or anybody who has that one special skill and they are a specialist in that. That's one persona. And I think the frustrations that they have is they went to school or they did all this learning, yet they are not earning to their capabilities. The other persona, I believe, is this multi-passionate, multi-skill solopreneur, where just by the virtue of having been there, done that, so many things, so many different ways, you have learned a lot of skills. And now you're finding it even more difficult because the frustration now is I have learned so many things. It feels like I have paid my quote unquote dues and I'm still not making the kind of money that I should be making. And I know that I know so much and people should be paying me for this. So both personas, frustration is that I'm not getting paid what I deserve for what I know, for what I should be getting paid for. I have the skill, I have the talent, but I'm not getting paid for it. Lucky for them, you're going to solve that, right? With the system, which you're going to talk about, solve that today.
That's right.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'll say this, getting started inside of this program and through this implementation session with us, at the end of the day, an entire business comes down to three primary things. You have to have a unique skill set. There has to be something that you have an unfair advantage around, whether that's that you're a medical professional or that you're a videographer or that you're great at digital marketing and advertising, or maybe you're incredible at leadership and change management. Whatever that thing is, graphic design, there's so many individualized skill sets that someone could have, but you want to hone in on the individual skill set that separates you, the one that's your unfair advantage, the one that's profitable, that's fulfilling, and that's sustainable, meaning that you could use that one skill set that you have over an extended period of time in order to create change in the world. And when you can do that, all you need is a really good offer. You need to have a way to get unlimited leads, and you have to have a simple sales process. And that's what you're going to learn today. How to make a really good offer and implement it. How to get unlimited leads so that you never have this feast and famine mode inside of your business, and how to follow a simple sales process. It's so easy. It literally in 5 steps and in less than 5 minutes, I'm going to teach you how to close deals. In doing this, I know for me, had a call with a gentleman, went through the process. This is the first time that I had used it. I closed a $30,000 a month deal from that simple 5-minute, 5-step framework. So we're going to have a lot of fun today. It's going to be a blast. So are you ready? Should we just jump into it?
Yeah.
All right, man, let's go. Let's do it. All right, so let's talk about skills, because this is the primary thing that we want to lean into. And I know that's going to be a really critical part, is identifying the number one highest skill that you have. I would identify as somebody who has multi-passionate skill set. In addition, I have a lot of competency in a lot of different things. So it's not just that I'm passionate. Like Michael Jordan was passionate about baseball, but he was highly skilled in basketball. And in baseball, he was in the minor leagues. He made $1,100 a month. Like he did it for passion. He wanted to honor his father, who was a 2-time athlete. But in basketball, he made $94 million in contracts in the 80s and 90s, which is like just 5 to 10x it. And that's what it's actually worth today. He won 6 championships. From basketball, he has a $3 billion net worth. You have to double down on the number one skill that you have in translation to very specifically how you can create change. If you want to be a 7-figure solopreneur, you have to monetize your highest, most valuable skill set. And listen, I went through this myself. I know what it's like to be really passionate and really broke. I was in ministry for 8 years. I made $25,000 a year. Really passionate, very meaningful time in my life. I learned a lot of really incredible things. But at the end of the day, I was never going to be a 700K solopreneur being in ministry making $25,000 a year. I can promise you, it would have never happened. So when I got into business, I made a decision to go, I think I'm really good at branding. And I remember the first job opportunity that I had. It was with this company called 6 Months Miles. They were an orthodontic company. The founder was really good at marketing and was really good at innovation and technology. So he merged the two of those to create this beautiful system, innovation and product. And he made a way for people to have braces. And in 6 months, they could have a straight smile. And in most cases, what? It takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Not only that, it's a third of the cost of braces. And general practitioners could do it. Meaning you didn't have to go to an orthodontist. Your normal dentist could do it. That level of innovation and insight, this founder ended up leaving the company. And so they needed someone to run that heart of the brand. And that's why they picked me to come do it. Now, the representation of just being responsible for branding was one big giant umbrella. They're like, we just need someone who gets communication. We need someone who gets creativity. We need someone who just understands how to get people from where they are to where we want them to go and do that in the appropriate way. And what I figured out very quickly, that my highest and best use skill is persuasion. I'm very good at helping people identify what it is that they want and how to get from where they are and trust the process to get to where they want to be. So with that comes the light and the dark side. It's the possibilities. As we've heard it said, it's illumination and not manipulation. So if you use it ethically, and that sales process can be ethical, you could be great at communication, branding, sales, marketing, because it all comes down to the foundational element of communication. And that's what I want you to inspect. That's where I started. And when I left making $25,000 a year out of ministry, I made $52,000 a year as a brand manager. Then I made $85,000 a year as a product marketing manager for a Fortune 500 brand. Then I started my own business and I said, wait a second, something's not clicking here. Like, I was just managing all of these billions of dollars worth of products, helping all these people do incredible things. I saw the ad agencies who were working with the dentistry company charging $10,000 a month for a print ad in a magazine that no one reads. And I said, why don't I just start charging $10,000 a month to do exactly what I did there? And that's how I launched my first business. This is in 2014. And through that process, I realized my primary skill set was my ability to communicate and to persuade. So I want you to think about, what is your highest and best skill? What have you gotten paid the most amount of money to do? And don't just focus on the modality. I also want you to think about what was in it for the person that you helped. Because there's only 6 reasons why people buy something. Number 1 is to make money. Number 2 is to save money. Number 3 is for status. Number 4, frustration. Number 5, community. And number 6, simplicity. Those are the reasons why people are going to buy something. So what I realized in my life was I was here to help people make money. I've helped people make over $500 million. I think I can help you. So you have to identify your highest skill. And if you struggle with the process of identifying your greatest skill, I'm going to show you 2 different modalities that you can use to identify it. This is a great refresher for you, because if you're not in a position of where you're feeling very confident about who you are and who you're created to be and how you can leverage your highest and best skill set, figure out what those elements are so that you can be confident, to be competent in who you are and what you do and why that matters. Is that helpful?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
that was very helpful.
Do you have any questions?
I think the question here is, I know you talk about this whole idea of profitable, fulfilling, and sustainable.
Yep.
And I think that would be a great framework to segue into, because those who have more than one skill or are not confident about which one to go after, that will help them make that decision. So you want to touch upon that framework?
Sure. So in order to help identify what your highest skill set is, and specifically its value based on the 6 reasons why someone buys, I want you to inspect 3 concepts. Number 1, you want to think about what's most profitable. I shared with you, I knew that digital advertising for me at that season, that point in my life, was the most profitable thing that I could do. I was a digital day trader. Some people day traded finance. I traded on attention. That was my highest, most profitable skill. So you have to identify, what problem have you gotten paid the most amount of money to solve? That's where your skill lies. So identify the skill and the problem that you solve for someone else. Easiest way to do that is just write down right now, what are the 5 reasons why people come to you? The last 5. What 5 things did they say, hey, I need your help with solving this problem? This is not rocket science. And if you make it really intense and difficult, you're only harming yourself in the process. So just think about it. What are the last 5 things that someone came into your life and said, yo, I need help with this thing? Those are the 5 specific problems that you can solve for other people. The next one is not only profitable, but now you want to find something that's fulfilling. See, the challenge that I faced and why I went in this perpetual cycle for 4 or 5 years of like feast and famine and like building and burning massive organizations and then doing fractional work. I had a profitable skill, but I didn't really like leveraging it anymore. So this is where I had to deeply understand myself and going, what's most fulfilling? I figured out that success is what was most fulfilling for me. I wanted to win. I hate losing more than I like winning. So you have to identify not only what's profitable, but also what's fulfilling, what's going to work for you. I had said for a really long time, like my wife would be like, you'll just kill it, just run ads again. And I'm like, there's something about it that I just don't want to do. And what I realized was there was a fracture in my life when I had a business partner split in 2019, and I never went back to wanting to work with companies again. I never really wanted to entertain that concept. But I'll tell you that the healing that you'll experience by reconsidering that option will unlock the opportunity for you. So the minute that I said, okay, I'll work with another company, I chose to do it in a fractional CMO capacity. So title shift. I was still responsible for marketing, right? So same umbrella. But on that fulfillment side, I said, let's just see what happens. We earned a 27x return on investment. We spent 180 grand in advertising. We did $4.5 million in sales. All of a sudden, this thing came up in me where I'm like, homeboy still got it. Something arose in me of where I said, that old story can't survive because now I have new data and new evidence that it's something different. And that cleared the pathway energetically for me to be able to get into the next thing. So this is what I'm telling you. The skill set, that's not probably going to be massively different than what you've always done in order to make money. But what my mentor, David Meltzer, told me was, Nick, it's not what you're doing, it's how you did it that needs to change. You've got to have alignment both in the capacity and capabilities of making money based on your hard skill. And in addition, you cannot sacrifice spiritual or personal alignment to do it. You've got to find both. What was the highest skill that helped the most amount of people that also earned you the money that you want to make? And then on the opposite side, you have to go, okay, now is that fulfilling? And if it's not, this is where you're going to have to figure it out. Now, the third thing is what's sustainable. And the sustainability factor really has to do with the marathon and not the sprint. I don't want you to just get one client and be like, okay, I'll just get one client doing this and then maybe I'll think about something else. No, it has to be sustainable, meaning it has to be something that's easy to deliver for you. Everything you're going to learn in this whole entire implementation session is specifically about sustainability. The sustainability factor for you has to come down to your willingness. I know you want a lot of money, but the question is, are you willing to do what it takes in order to receive it? there's a format for you over an extended period of time to stay the course, to not disrupt, to commit to the process for 12 months, and to not change your offer every 30 days, because it's not going to work. It's not sustainable. What's not sustainable is a guaranteed failure. Can I do it for a long time? Is it something that I feel in alignment with? Can I make that commitment? And if you can, that's where your consistency will come in. That's where every time you talk to somebody about this process, you're going to be like, dang, I feel on fire about this, and I'm finally excited to do it in a new way. And that comes down to your offer, which we're going to talk about next.
Something I would love to quickly add is the same skill may have a completely different value for different people. I don't know if this story is true or not, but I read somewhere that this old dying man, he has an old car and he wants to gift it to the daughter. But then he says, you know what, take this car to the junkyard. And when she goes to the junkyard, he says, I'll give you a couple $100. She goes to the dealership. He says, I'll give you a couple $1,000. He goes to the car collector. He says, I'll give you $200,000 for this car because this is a unique piece and blah, blah, blah. So the moral of the story was when the daughter comes back, the dad says, see, this is exactly what world is like. What you are truly worth in terms of how you see it, but how others see it. Mm-hmm. So your same skill of whether it's accounting or videography or gardening, no matter what, different people have different value for it. So you may have to also keep in the back of your mind who your target audience is going to be. So that's one thing I wanted to add. And the other one I'm thinking is don't let this overwhelm you. Keep it simple. Just literally take a sheet of paper and write it down. Nick said, write down 5 things that you've got paid for. And that's your great start. Yep. Most of the time, I have just overcomplicated things because I'm trying to figure it out in my head. That's why I keep these notebooks and things around me.
Yeah.
Because there's something about the moment you put it on the paper, it starts to feel real, but also it starts to declutter your head and you can think more clearly and more concisely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. Selecting an audience for me in business was the hardest way for me to figure out how to monetize my skill. So I'll make it simple for you. You're going to sell to a business. Period. I don't want you to think about how am I going to sell this to an individual. If it's an individual and they're a CEO, then the business better be making $1 million a year because we're not here to make pennies. It's the rich man who has a problem is the one who's going to pay you. You want to be mindful of that. But in addition, go look at your previous job descriptions if you have to, because you're probably monetizing a skill that you graduated from that you used to get paid for in a corporation or a small business. Keep it super simple. What have you got paid to do in the past? Identify what those skill sets are, and we're going to teach you how to turn that skill set into something that's monetizable at the highest level.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's dive into an overview of offers, leads, and sales. You call it the OLS system.
Yep.
Let's start with offers. Tell us more about offers. I know you have a very unique way of talking about it, this whole concept of adopting. And I love that because as we were talking about this, most people are confused that it's survival of the fittest. No, it's the survival of the one that's going to adopt.
Yeah.
I love the concept. Why don't you dive deep into offers, but continue with adopted offers and so on and so forth?
Yeah. So in order to win in this whole offer game, and you could go read tons of different books about this, what I'm really great at is being a synthesizer and a syndicator. So what I'm going to do is take all the information and I'm going to condense it in the shortest amount of time to be able to give you a clear-cut answer. And we're going to implement together. An offer needs two qualities that have to be present with it. It needs to be clear. Confused people don't buy. You can write it down. You can tattoo it on your forehead if you want. People who are confused will never buy anything from you. So it better be really damn clear what you're doing. The second thing is it needs to solve their most painful problem. If you just get those things, it doesn't even need to be sexy. If you're a videographer, for example, and you're like, hey, I can come in and in 2 to 3 days, I can record you 6 months worth of content. They're like, oh, you have my attention. It's a simple, straightforward offer. So there's a time component and then there's a quantity component. That's just one way to make a really good offer. And there's many different ways to do it. I created commission-only consulting. Why? Because the offer's clear, commission-only consulting. And by the way, I didn't engineer this. I was just like sitting there and I was like, oh, that sounds really good. That sounds like something I would want. That sounds like something that really makes sense for the people that I want to serve. And so I just looked up really quick a domain URL and to see if it was taken, and it was there. And I'm like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. This is genius. Sometimes it happens in that format of where you just get a download and it just hits you and you're like, I need to roll with that. The question is it clear? Commission only consulting. Will your avatar or the people that you want to serve, let's just keep it general, will business people understand what the hell it means? If they will, then you're probably in the clear. But if it's my transformational, revolutionary, squat thrust program. Stop trying to be so damn unique that you miss the simplicity of being clear. That's the number one sin in creating an offer, that it's too complex and it's about you and it's not about the people that you serve. The second thing is it has to solve the most painful problem. There's a really simple analogy that I give to this. You could stub your toe, get punched in the face, have an inner earache, okay? The symptoms are not the prescription or the solution. All of those, ibuprofen, might be the thing that solves that. It's a reduction of inflammation. Ibuprofen doesn't try to market to all those individualized symptoms. What they realize is if there's inflammation in the body, then we can use this predetermined script in order to reduce inflammation. It's really simple. So I know that a lot of people do need coaching and consulting. I know a lot of people feel out of control in their business. They're not making the money that they want, that they don't have the skill or the team that's required to get them to the next level. They feel like they're hitting a glass ceiling. And at the end of the day, they've tried everything and nothing works. Why do you think I created commission-only consulting? I studied this stuff and revisited and went through the foundations to go, what's the one thing that will cure that? And I realized it's performance. It's the thing that everyone wants, is to have this attachment to saying, listen, I need this. But at the end of the day, big pharma, they're like jacking up the prices of all these necessary medications, and it creates this preventable measure for people who really need it. I didn't want to do the same thing. So what I said was, why don't I just partner with them on their success? It just makes too much sense to not do it. What's the reality? Anytime I'm talking to people about this, they're like, holy crap, that's what I want and that's what I need to do. And I know it's going to be disruptive to the entire industry. You don't have to create an offer just like that. But what I think is really simple, and the best way to figure this out, the number one way to have an irresistible, obvious, clear, compelling offer is to go study the market. This is going to blow a lot of people's minds because, again, they feel like they have to have something that's so hyper original that they can't just actually do the practical thing. You have to go study the market. I call this the adoptable offer. If you knew what I knew about product marketing and how much time and money and energy is spent to create a compelling offer, it would absolutely blow your mind. For anybody watching this, unless, let's say the rare few, the 1% who might have $1 million in the bank, you don't even have the money that's required in order to create an irresistible offer. Like the amount of studying and time and market research and calls with validation processes and how corporations, they spend millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in R&D and inspecting the marketplace and what's required in order to get an offer to market. Big franchises do this. This is why the idea can be franchised, is because the offer consistently works. The same exact thing happened when one of the first clients that I ever worked with. He was a chiropractor who was focusing on weight loss services. So I said, I think I can help you. All right. He was spending $40,000 a month in advertising. And I said, how's that working out for you? He's like, it's fallen flat. I said, great. Why don't you give me 20 grand? We'll spend 10 in Facebook. You can pay me 10 and I'll run lead generation for you on Facebook. Why? Because that's where the consumer's attention is. And what I knew was he already had a really good offer. Listen to this jingle. It was lose fat with Dr. Matt. His branding was on point. His offer was lose 20 to 40 pounds in 40 days or less, guaranteed. That's an offer. But what I didn't tell you at the beginning of the conversation is Dr. Matt didn't create that. What happened was this company, Nutrimost, spent all the money and all the research and all the time in creating all the products. Then they could launch that and go to market. All the doctor had to do was enroll in the program, learn how to deliver the service and the core components, but all the product marketing was done. The offer was done. It was already completed. And so why would we try to sound so unique and so personalized? The identity component of what we're searching for. I don't know. Cash cures a multitude of sins. I truly believe it. You'll find a lot more satisfaction in life if you're doing what you love and you're making a lot of money than trying to make your one-liner statement sound really good. Study the damn market. There's a couple ways you can do this. Number one is go to Google and type it in. So type in the thing that you do. Let's do it right now. Weight loss services. Let's see what's on here. Let's see. So they updated their offer. Lose up to 7 pounds in your first 7 days. That's an offer. That's a clear offer. Someone just the other day sent a DM to my buddy Sean and they say, hey, I'll edit your videos for you. I'll give you 90 videos with 90 edits and it'll be $900. 90 videos, 90 edits, and it's $900. It's the psychology of it. Lose up to 7 pounds in your first 7 days. Now, mine's commission only consulting. It doesn't require this result in this amount of time, but it requires a psychological trigger for someone to really understand what you're doing. Look in your DMs. Go study other people. Ask other people, hey, have you worked with a videographer recently? Because I'm curious, what package did you sign up for? You've got to do a little bit of market research, but you're going to find very quick programs you've taken before, people that you've been inspired by. You could look at websites, Google ads. People spend literally millions of dollars in Google ads, and you could just type in your service and see what they're marketing and what their offer is. You just have to study. Look for the thing that says, here's what you're going to get. The wild thing is, even in this example, when I was looking, there's plenty of sites that don't even have an offer. And we're talking about Vanderbilt Health Systems, and they don't even have a clear offer on their site. You're going to have an unfair advantage if you just have a really clear offer. Commission only consulting. That's amazing. What is that? It's pay for performance. I only get paid if you do. I want you to find an offer in your niche that already works. Don't reinvent the wheel. Steve Jobs said this really well. He said, you've got to start with the customer experience in mind and work backwards towards the system or the technology, not the other way around. So let's figure out what the customer's already paying for, things they've already said yes to at a higher frequency and at a higher clip. And let's go back to them with that and not the other way around. Let's not try to engineer it from the front, but reverse engineer it from the results that we know that are already working.
Yeah, that's amazing. And as you were talking about it, what came to mind is if you look at the last 5 purchases that you have made, not the 5 purchases that someone else has made from you, but the 5 purchases you made. Maybe you bought a gym membership, maybe you got a device or whatever have you, like anything that you bought. If you reflect on your own purchasing decision, you will notice that you bought that thing or that service for some kind of an outcome, some kind of a result. And as long as that result, that outcome is clear to people, there is higher chances of them pulling the trigger. Clear is better than clever and cute. So don't try to be clever and cute, try to be clear.
That's right.
Another thought that I had was concept of sell them what they want and give them what they need. Yes, of course. Like if I go to a gym today and I tell them, yes, I want to lose weight or I want to gain muscles or whatever have you, they're going to tell me, perfect. That's exactly what gym does, right? It will help you lose weight and gain muscles. Great, I'm going to buy. But they're going to give me what I need, which is they're going to make me move more. They're going to make me eat clean and things that actually bring the results. Most of the time when we start as experts, and this is what I call as the expert audience gap, as experts, as knowledge workers, we already know all the content, all the mechanics of what's going to create the results. And we get excited talking about those mechanics and details and nuances. And the customer just doesn't care. And that's why I said, reflect on the last 5 purchases you made.
Very
you
true.
probably did not buy something for the mechanics of it or the content of it. You bought it for a specific result. Hey, I want to lose weight and I want to lose it in 7 days. Perfect. This is for me. I'm going to buy it because that's the outcome I want. The 7 pounds lost in 7 days. By the way, Nick, let me know where I sign up.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think it's so simplistic. Now, here's the best part of this. Because I was in product marketing, because I really understand this stuff, is one of my superpowers. Inside of this module, you're going to find a worksheet and you're going to find a resource document where we're going to help you outline this. Okay. So most all of these are going to be done in one page because I want to keep it as simple as possible. But we've created 20 adaptable or adoptable offers that you can take right now. You can go see by different verticals or by different industries some of the best offers that we know that exist, and we'll update this ongoing. But right now, we can show you some of the offers that we think are really good and that exist for the types of people that we're working with. As you go through the process, you're going to submit these documents. I will personally review them with the team to make sure that your offer slaps. And when it does, we can get to the next steps throughout the process.
Awesome. So speaking of next steps, tell us now more about how do we take the adopted offer to the winning offer?
Yeah, the first thing that you want to figure out is that psychological process of where you go, that just makes sense. Boom, that's really clear. Everyone can feel it. That's the thing. As a consumer yourself, you're going to be like, damn, that sounds really good. I'm going to speak from my own experience here because that's how I can teach and train you. And I can tell you how I got my business back and came out like a phoenix rising. The adopted framework. A lot of people who are experts, they've studied all these different modalities to execute what they do because you're a researcher, you're a gatherer, you're an expert. You've studied, you've quantified, you know how to do all the things. But then you're like, for me, in digital marketing, I can't really use HubSpot's formula or their process in order to say, hey, this is my process, and so this is how I do things. True. So what I do is I say, hey, I learned HubSpot inbound marketing from MIT and Harvard professors in 2014. Sat with them, trained with them, understood from them on how to leverage this system. It's the way the internet operates today. It's called inbound marketing. And guess what? It's 5 steps. They spent millions of dollars figuring it out. And it's how to take a complete stranger and turn them into a promoter of your brand. They created the concept of a funnel. Click funnels. Everything came off the ideation. There's nothing new under the sun. You have to have an adopted framework. So my suggestion for you is think about the framework, probably one of the early frameworks that taught you about what you do. If you were coming into that, you had a passion and an excitement about what it is that you do, you probably had a framework where you're like, this really makes sense. The unconscious competence model, or the drama triangle, or HubSpot's inbound marketing method. Or maybe you learned something from an influencer or from a book. I don't care if it was in the 70s, okay? That framework is what you need to leverage. Frameworks frame the work. So the benefit of doing this is when you have your offer and you understand the highest competency skill. So for me, if it's marketing, then I know under that concept of marketing, where did I learn marketing? I learned it from a methodology that was teachable, trainable, and that someone could literally just put it on a silver platter. I could see it in one picture on a screen. I want you to find the picture. I want you to find that image that you can adapt and say, this is the methodology that I follow. This is the framework that I follow. I know how to help people take complete strangers and turn promoters of their business. Guess what? That's what I use to create this. Because what I'm teaching you on offer, leads, and sales is literally the HubSpot methodology. It's top, middle, and bottom of funnel. It's the same exact thing. It's just leveraged in a different way. So you're never going to escape that. And I've just noticed, Devesh, that a lot of people, when they get into the whole concept of, okay, I need to make the offer really sexy. And they're like, great, what's the framework? They're like, now I need to go create an amazing framework. And it's, nope, they already exist. My suggestion to you is to look at highest skill. Then you have a clear offer. I can help you take complete strangers and turn them into customers and promoters of your business. Great. How do you do that? Here's the stages. You have stranger, then you have visitor, then you have lead, then you have customer, then you have promoter. Great. What activities need to happen between each one of those sections? There's your entire business model. That's how you're going to deliver what you deliver. And you don't have to do all the guesswork. Just put a little thing in the bottom corner that says HubSpot 2023, copywritten, whatever. This is HubSpot inbound methodology. Celebrate that you learned it and how much it changed your life and all the people that you've worked with. You don't have to be certified to do that. It's an open source process that anyone can leverage. Say, hey, this is what I learned and here's how I do it. Okay? Is that helpful? Because I feel like this just cuts out so much of the noise for people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And let me give an example, perhaps, if I understood it correctly. Yep. For me, for my methodology or my framework has always been this thing that I call 3 C's. And I can't help it. I'm a management consultant, right? So, so the 3 C's that I look at is clarity, choices, cash flow. So I always talk about, if I'm working with an entrepreneur, solopreneur, I'm talking about, okay, do we have the clarity of what we want? Do we have the clarity of how are we going to get there, wherever it is that we want to get to? And then that allows us to make really good choices. And choices being projects, decisions that we make, so on and so forth, investments that we make and whatnot. And then the decisions that we make deeply impact the cash flow. So I got to manage that. Because if you think about it, like at the end of the day, each business owner, whether solopreneur or large corporation, what they really care about is having the clarity of knowing what they want and making the decisions that get them there and making sure that they don't run out of cash flow.
That's right.
So you can think of it in the most simplistic format. It doesn't have to be super complicated that there is this 360 assessment and all that. I think that's the idea. I think if anything that I heard today so far, Nick, is keeping it super simple.
Yep.
As experts, as solopreneurs, we perhaps like complicate things, make them more difficult because maybe there is mindset thing, which is, hey, easy is not worth doing because there is not enough credit. And that could be something. Or we need to justify our credentials, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So I think this keeping it simple, understanding, even if it's from 70s or wherever, however old or new it is, really having a very simple, clear framework helps.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
It's so true, man. There's a simple framework in the Bible. It's called the fruit of the Spirit, right? There's simple frameworks, like the golden rule. That's a framework that's like over 2,000 years old that people still talk about today. So the framework just frames the work. So it's simple. Find an offer that's really compelling in the marketplace and put your own little twist or spin on it. Number 2 is adopt a framework that you've already leveraged that taught you, or in the book that you read that changed your life about this thing, or where you found that educational training foundational background. Leverage that as your framework. And if you've already created one and it's really damn good, go for it. But for those of you who are stuck on like, how do I showcase how I do what I do in a simple 1, 2, 3 process? It's actually really simple. Just define the 3 action verbs. We interview you, we create your content, we publish it for you. That's how I created Tenure. We went from 0 to 1.5 million in 5 months. It's really simple. That's the framework frames the work.
Awesome. Now we have adopted offer. We have the winning offer. We have the framework. Where are we going with this?
Here's the deal. And this kind of summarizes the concept of the primary offer that's adopted and the adopted framework. If you can't describe what you're doing as a process, then you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. If you can't describe what you're doing as a process, then you don't know what you're doing. That was W. Edwards Dunning. The concept around that is that's why I love what someone else has already spent the time and energy and investment doing and putting a twist on it. Then the other concept of leveraging frameworks where you've already learned how to frame the work that you're doing. At the end of the day, if you can just explain that really simply, I help people take complete strangers and turn them into customers of your business. Great. That bears interest. Amazing. Then how do you do that? There's 5 stages. Boom. Super simple. How do you get through the stages? We focus on this and this. Done. That's what leads us to then a winning proposal. Adopted offer, adopted framework, and a winning proposal.
So let's talk about the winning proposal now. What does the winning proposal mean? What do you mean and what does it look like?
Mike Kim, who's been a coach of mine since I started day one, and he's helped me a lot in personal branding and marketing, and he's been an incredible human being in my life and in teaching, educating, a lot of ways pastoring, and helped me through life and situational stuff. But Mike gave me a proposal template that really helped me figure out, okay, so what is it that I'm doing? Who am I doing it for? And then in that section, there were 2 things. They were called methodologies and deliverables. Your methodology is attached to the framework. At the very top, the situational analysis is where you're going to include your offer. And then at the end of it, when it comes to deliverables, the deliverables that were part of that strategic framework that you have outlines exactly what you're going to do for the client. Yeah. So if I said, hey, someone's a videographer. Hey, so here's the deal. I'm going to come in 3 days, 2 to 3 days. We're going to record and produce 6 months worth of content for you. Amazing. Okay, how are you going to do that? Here's the 3 steps. Excellent. Now in the proposal, all you do is just, what are the boxes that have to be checked so that you know that you're done with the job? That's it. So all it is basically a mini version of your project checklist of the things that have to happen so that you know that you deliver on the thing that you said you would do. So I often say that only needs to be like maybe 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 10 things, depending upon what you're delivering. But all that has to happen is that you can check those boxes when you're done and you know that you've delivered on the thing, taking a complete stranger, turning it into a promoter of your brand. What are the steps that are required in order to do that? You check them as you go down, and that's the way that everybody stays the course. So the winning proposal has the situational analysis, it has the methodology that you're going to leverage, and it has the deliverables that are attached to the outcomes that you're going to create. It also goes through terms and like payment and all that kind of stuff. And again, to make this incredibly simple, you can download inside the module. You can actually download the proposal template that we've already created for you. And it's like Mad Libs. Swap the stuff out that you do. But all I need to know is one statement at the top. So that offer, what is it that you're doing? Take complete strangers, turn them into promoters of your business. Excellent. Then the next, what's the adopted framework? It's inbound marketing methodology. Here's the 5 steps and here's the 4 things. Great. What's the proposal? It's a summary of that with the person's name on it that says why they need your help, and it ends at the bottom with the clarity of how the terms are going to operate and the pricing, the cost, and all that fun stuff.
That's awesome. So it sounds like, at least from the offer's perspective, we are coming to a point where we should feel very complete with our offer. How do you suggest everyone that's working on their offer that at what point they get to check that same box where they say, yeah, I feel complete. I have an offer. What does that look like?
I think there's a sense of relief because they feel like they can finally get back in the game. And there is this concept of, holy crap, I probably made this way more complicated for way too long than I needed it to be. And I'm grateful that Nick and Devesh helped me get through this. The secondary element is likely a sense of relief because they feel like they can finally get back in the game. It's like coming off the injured reserve list. If you play sports, you're like, oh, I have hope again. I have an excitement again. I feel like I can make this a reality again. And the only place really where people get stuck is emotionally. Yep. Emotionally, they're like, it doesn't sound special enough. It's not unique enough. And if that's the case, that's fine. This may be a good point for you to pause and to seek some healing internally based on maybe some negative experiences that you've had. The people who I've worked with, when we've had to switch the offer around a little bit, it's typically like a 30-minute conversation of there's a better way. Let's search for the better way. Let's implement the better way. Let's be clear about how we deliver the better way on the proposal, because now you have a actual monetizable skill in a process, in a document that you can start selling tomorrow. So that's the benefit. And we're going to talk about how to find the people to sell to in a minute.
Absolutely. So let's talk about closing the offers as part of our methodology here with what we call the offer statement. And also, what does that feel like? Once you have the offer statement, what are you ready to do?
Yeah. So when you arrive to the finish line, and here's how you know that you're done with this section, you're going to have that adopted offer. Remember, don't reinvent the wheel. Just realign it. That's all I want you to do. Don't reinvent the wheel, just realign it. So when you have that winning offer statement, then you have the framework, then you have the proposal, you're going to be ready to do something wildly unique that you probably haven't done in a long time. And that's to go tell the world about it. So I want you to assess right now in your heart, if you're like, holy cow, in one page, one document right in front of me, I know exactly what I'm offering. I know exactly the framework that I'm going to use in order to do it. I understand what the method is that I'm going to deliver this in and what the deliverables are, predetermined. My big question for you is, are you ready to go tell the world?
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
For what does that?
So here's what it looks like if you don't have an offer, but you're really good at leads and sales. It's just like my buddy Andrew. So Andrew, for example, Andrew is a coach for real estate agents, and he really works on the transformational side. Now, he also happens to be a real estate agent himself. And in addition, he has an unfair advantage because he's inside of an ecosystem selling a secondary product. When you can go to someone and say, hey, the COO of the company said I should talk to you, and you're a sales leader in that organization, you're probably going to get the call. Not to mention that he has the top list, all the email addresses. Like, his leads are instantaneous because they're inside of an ecosystem that he already has the information on. So he doesn't really have to do lead generation. It's more like just lead sourcing, and he contacts them, and they're all within the same company. So it's an unfair advantage on his lead generation strategy. And on the sales part, Andrew was on mission for 2 to 3 years. He went door to door telling people about his faith. This dude is the most unreal salesperson like I've ever seen in my life. He's relentless. He has the ability to make however many dials he commits to per day. He will get on the phone. He has this saying. He said, I will literally follow up with you. He tells people this on a voicemail. I will follow up with you until I die or you do. That's relentless. And it's true. Every Monday, he calls everyone who he's tried to get a hold of before who didn't answer, who's a part of this network. Any partner, any client, anybody who is a potential lead who's inside of his ecosystem. This guy's got leads and sales nailed. His problem was on his offer. So for Andrew, the uniqueness was he had this skill of doing transformational work, but he had people paying $2,000 a month, $3,000 for a breakthrough, $5,000 for a breakthrough, $1,000 for a breakthrough, free breakthroughs. Then I'm coaching this person, then their kid wants help. So then I coach the kid for free, but I'm already coaching them for free. But then this person's paying $200 a month. This one's paying $600 a month. So it's just all the puzzle pieces exist, but they're not in order. And that creates that sense of frustration. And so they want to, Andrew wanted to reduce the frustration of, I feel like I don't have that one single streamlined process from offer all the way through the sales process. So he had 46 clients on multiple different, let's just call them levels within what he was doing. And at the same time, having all those 46 clients, when we inspected it, he had 20-ish clients that were all doing the same thing. And so that's what I said to him. I said, okay, so you have 46. Now, all of them are the real estate agents who are within this group, and you've got about 20 of them, and they all pay the same amount. Yes, perfect. That's what we want to do. So when you have lead generation and access to a leads list, and those people you can convert at a really good percentage, and you have a way, he goes to them, he does a webinar essentially with their groups, and then people sign up for a 30-minute call. From the 30-minute call, he tells them to read a book. If they go read the book, he says, come back after you do. If they do and they still want his help, great. Here's a breakthrough session. He pitches that. If they buy the breakthrough session, excellent. On the back end, then what they do is they can coach them for 12 months after the breakthrough session. He had all the pieces. He just didn't have what does that process look like in order to get them into this offer. As soon as we clarified that, it was instantaneous in his growth. He went from having 5 to 6 leads a month that he was actually pitching to inside of this direct offer to having 40, 50, 60 leads a month. Everyone's going through the same process, the same steps, doing the same exact thing in order to get the intended result. Now his client delivery is even that much better, even though he's amazing and everyone loves him. When you're working with a specific group, the best thing about having an amazing customer is you don't have to ask them to market for you. They will go tell the world about you. If you have consistency, preparation, you understand what needs to be done and how you're going to achieve the result, and it's scalable, it's consistent and repeatable. He was missing the offer. The minute we had the offer, getting the right message in front of the right person at the right time that they could say yes to, the entire business was unlocked. And he'll absolutely be the 700K solopreneur next year, and he'll be a part of that group.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and this is all about how, again, that clarity that we keep going back to, the clarity of like, what is it that I offer?
Yeah.
And once you have that offer, it becomes so much more simpler, not just to prospect and sell, but I'm also assuming already that how much simpler and easier Andrew's life must be now as a result of, instead of trying to deliver 46 different things, now he has one thing that he can continuously develop his efficiencies, his expertise on, and make sure that every single one of those people that are buying from him are super happy. They're getting the results, they're getting the outcomes, and their life is being made easier.
Yeah.
So this is so amazing.
Devesh, what's so cool about it, and this is how the part of how I figured out what I wanted to really create for the 700K solopreneur, was Andrew found what was profitable, what was fulfilling, and what was sustainable. He was missing sustainability. He had profitability on most of them, and he was very fulfilled. He loved what he was doing, but there were those two components that were missing. So now everything's profitable and it's sustainable because it's the same exact thing over and over again. And I'm telling you, he's going to absolutely go global. This guy is not slowing down anytime soon. And so I'm very excited to be a part of his journey.
That's awesome. So let's continue with another situation where maybe I have the offer, but somehow leads and sales are not coming through.
Yeah. So if you have an offer, but leads and sales aren't coming through, there's typically two dilemmas. And usually the midpoint between your offer and your leads has to do with your audience. I have a buddy, and so what he's going through right now is he has an offer, but the offer is to like a old audience that was part of a trend. Maybe some of you have seen this before, where Facebook coaching was really big, where you could generate a lot of clients on Facebook, and that has really shifted over the years. And so this is why I tell people, if you want to be a 700K solopreneur, you've got to be on LinkedIn. Why? Because the audience that can afford your services live there, but you need to adjust your offer because the audience is different. So again, you may be great at transformational coaching. And again, you've got to be part of the 1% of the 1% to do this well with businesses. Your primary skill set might be in marketing. You might be a great copywriter, or you might be a great videographer, or you might be a great advertiser, right? And when you adjust the audience, you have to adjust the offer. And that also comes to whenever you adjust the platform. So whether you're talking on Facebook and that's the way you always did it, or then you're going to TikTok, it's different. Or if you go to LinkedIn, it's different. My focus is for you to be on LinkedIn because I primarily am working with people who want to make money working with companies, because that's where all the money is. Remember, find the rich man who has a problem, and you will be one too. Hopefully the rich man without the problem. But the concept is your offer can be really clear, but you're probably going to have to adjust your offer. And the prevention is when a platform shifts or attention shifts, leads and sales dry up. Even if you have a great offer, but no one's listening, again, what's the conversion point between offer and leads is audience. You've got to go over the audience where you can gain their attention and where it's relevant in order for you to work with them. So my suggestion is, if you have a great offer and it's great, but you're not getting leads and sales, number one, you're fishing in the wrong pond. Or number two is that you don't have a consistent and reliable way to start generating the leads that are required. So you're in a place where you're like, I just keep publishing, I'm posting and praying that something's going to happen. And I just promise you that there's just no way that's going to happen. People now are sending 100,000 emails a month that are cold emails in order to get conversion and get people into their programs or services. You're not going to win by publishing and having 37 people see it on a platform and hoping that something happens. You've got to be aggressive. If you want to win, this is like entrepreneurship, solopreneurship is a combat sport. They don't call it in the sales process initial contact for no reason. It's initial contact. It's a contact sport. So if you're not generating the leads, I promise you won't have sales. And if you're not generating the leads, it's either because your offer is not congruent with a platform or with an audience, or you're just not following a mechanism, a system, something like LinkedIn automation or something like cold email with automation or leveraging AI in some capacity in order to generate your sales. It's got to go outbound, and then you need to respond to inbound. And we're going to teach you how to do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's continue with what's the situation look like when someone may have the offer. They may have also worked on generating some sort of leads, but they're still not seeing the results, AKA the actual sales coming in.
Typically, they're making the sales process far too complicated. There's a really good quote that I will mention when it comes to sales. People don't buy from people they like. They buy from people who understand. So a lot of times you could have, I got this really great offer, shiny object syndrome. Then you're like, okay, I'm getting a ton of leads. Then you get to the sales part. Some people just don't know how to sell. So I'm going to teach you like a 5-step sales process that is super easy. A lot of people don't know how to sell, but they don't know how to close. Meaning they get on the call, the person's interested, and then you let them off the hook. So there's no qualification going into that conversation. You're not booking them on a Calendly that says, what are the 5 questions that have to be true in order for you to even take this call with this person who you think is a lead? They're probably not as qualified as you think, but you're like, yeah, but I still get people reaching out all the time saying they want to work with me. Great. Like, that's a phenomenal thing. But I have a lot of people reach out to me and who want to work with me too. But guess what? They're broke. So that's not going to work. So you've got to ask yourself that question. Is it even the right people reaching out? And again, without consistent, persistent pursuit of your highest potential happening through lead generation as well, you're not going to have those qualified leads coming in. So there's a missing point. Typically in sales, if you have a gap, you're missing qualification. You're missing the skill and ability to not only sell, but also to close. And I'll mention this one last thing. Typically in the sales process, if you're not being clear, part of the offer structure a little bit, the offer is not strong enough, you're going to see that impacted in the sales process. You're only as good as your weakest link. So when we say someone does have an offer, this is what I do. And I do have people who say, I want to work with you. On the sales side, there could be a mismatch. If your offer is only a 2 out of 10, you're only getting 2 out of 10 on your lead volume because that's the highest it can go, which means now your sales process is just tanking because the offer is not converting. So it has a lot to do with you, has a lot to do with qualification, has a lot to do with understanding simplicity and process and how to get someone in the right psychological state in order to buy. And those would probably be the primary things just off the cuff of what would happen in the sales process if someone wasn't selling.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it sounds all 3 as a trifecta have to come together. The offer has to be strong. And I like your framing of if the offer is 2 out of 10, then the rest of the process would also be never going above 2 out of 10. How do we bring all these 3 10 of 10? And what does a 0 out of 10 look like? When imagine like you have no offer clarity. Imagine as a result, you're not able to generate leads and you don't have any sales.
Devesh, I lived this for 4 years of my life. That's the wild thing. This is what brings me so much joy to be a voice of redemption for people, is because I had an insane amount of skill, but I never had an offer. I couldn't figure it out. And my offer struggled because I didn't really know my audience. And I was still carrying around a lot of hurt in my life about the way that things were. And I wanted them to be different. And I kept looking to the past to try to create solutions instead of looking forward and saying, what can I do about it? And then in the middle, without an offer that's clear, that's compelling, and I really struggled with copywriting. I felt like I couldn't logically structure it in a way that people could understand. And so I just punted it. Because guess what? If you're a 700K solopreneur, if you're in the expert-based business, if you're a consultant, if you're an expert in any way, if you're a skilled professional who sells to companies, they don't give a crap about your website. I forgot that I built a $3.5 million company without a website. And there's these little things that get us hung up on. When I created this process, I engineered it. What was the simple way that I did it the first time that was unconscious competence? I just attempted and became an accidental entrepreneur. Then on the other side, it's like when I lost it, then how do I get it back? And we got to go back to simplicity. So if you don't have an offer right now, but you have an immense amount of skill, you're not going to get leads. And if you're not getting leads, you're going to really struggle to close sales. And I've been there and I know it's really painful, but this is redemption hour for you. This is the time where the tide shifts. This is the moment where you can make a decision. Just say, what is the one skill I'm going to monetize? And one simple offer that's already in the market that I know that works. Pick one platform to focus on lead generation. I made it simple because we're going to start on LinkedIn. There's more that you can do. And in the bonus rounds, we're going to give you all that. And lastly, what's the sales process? It's easy. It's 5 things that have to be true in correlation with 5 simple questions that you can ask. That's this entire process. By the time you're done with this, you're going to go, holy crap, I feel like I wasted 2, 3, 4, maybe some people 10 years of my life trying to figure this out, listening to all the gurus and all the stuff. I'm just here to give it to you all and for free, basically, for you to walk through this process and just know what it is and to bring some hope into your life as well. Is that helpful, Devesh?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
It's definitely helpful. Thank you. All right, so we have talked about offer. Now let's segue into the leads. So I know you talk about this thing called PTCTA. So break that down and let's start going into that.
PTCTA, profile target call to action. We're going to be working on a LinkedIn platform because it's the number one place for people who are in business to do business. Best place that you can do it, especially for those of you who want to become the 700K solopreneur. You need to sell to businesses and not to people. Okay. This is really important. It's something that I've learned through the years. That's why I wear a jacket now, still rocking a t-shirt. But sometimes this really ties into the whole concept of profile, which is at the end of the day, you've got to look the part. We talked about this last night. There's a certain element. I don't want you to lose who you are, but you also got to look the part. And a lot of that has to do with your profile. It's not just maybe the clothes that you wear, the words that you say. I'm trying to cuss. I love Jesus, but I cuss a little, so I'm trying to figure all that out. But the idea is that you want to look the part. So if I go to your LinkedIn profile and you're like, man, LinkedIn, I forgot it was even a thing. I haven't been on here since 2010. We got some work to do. Because from your profile image to the banner that you have in the background, the way that you describe what you do, again, inside of the resources of this specific section, we're going to break down very specifically the primary things that you need to hit on and update. But with the leveraging AI and ChatGPT and all these other modalities now, we need to get that offer statement that you created at the very beginning. We need to throw it into the tagline of your profile on LinkedIn. See how this is all coming together, y'all? This is a really important thing. We need to have a banner that maybe showcases something unique about you or your personality. What I've learned is that most people in business, especially on this whole concept of first impressions, they're like, oh, I want to just throw it all out there of all the stuff that I do. And that's like putting a giant flashing sticker on if you're single and you go to a bar that says, hey, I'm single, come talk to me. You could be the most attractive dude ever, but that's not an attractive thing to do. It's have the confidence to go have the conversation, to interact with people. Like, you don't have to wear the sign that says I'm open for business. You just need to be someone who's a compelling force. And so here's what I'll say about profile. We need to update the LinkedIn profile. We need to update, if you do have a website, just strip it down and make it super simple. I'm not even going to teach and train on that because I don't want anyone to get distracted. But with any of this new stuff that you have, if you're good at those things, or you can hire someone else to do it, feel free. But when it comes very specifically to your LinkedIn profile, here's what I want to say. Sometimes people can't see past us to hear our message. Sometimes people can't see past us to hear our message. And we never have a second chance to make a first impression. So just make sure that when we start doing the CTA and we get to that point, I want you to update your profile so that someone doesn't say, there's something dissociated about the person I see and the message I'm receiving, because that's just a really key and important part of this process. We need to optimize. Don't overthink it. I'm like, done is better than perfect. Just make it make sense with where you're at today, with your offer structure, your framework, and the simplicity around the proposal and the things that you've accomplished in the past.
Moving on from profile, let's talk about the
target.
Let's talk about the target.
Yeah. So I mentioned this earlier. The wealthy client is the very wealthy man who's in great trouble. And so when we go to targeting, this is what I love. LinkedIn's process around LinkedIn Navigator, what's cool about it is, coming from an advertising background, it runs very similar to how you do ad targeting. And I just help people with this process because this has been something I get tripped up on, or I had gotten tripped up on a lot in my life, which was trying to figure out the audience. I tried to figure out the audience before I tried to figure out my offer. And that was backwards. You need to figure out the offer based on the skill set. Then you'll very quickly start defining the audience. I really struggled to hear that when my buddy Jason Pearl, who's a consultant, who told me that 3 years ago. But now it all makes sense. You got to be ready to receive the information that's coming to you. So when it comes to target, another word for that would be your ICP, or your ideal audience, ideal client profile. So inside of LinkedIn Navigator, you're going to navigate over to the leads list. And now you're going to start segmenting your leads. And what I like to say is go after the people who hired you before. Like, just think about it. I had a background in companies that were doing about 25 million a year, about 50 employees. Great. So there's a target segment. Who hired me? It was a fractional CMO. Great. And what problem did I solve for them? It was lead generation. Great. So there's a profile that I could go after if I want to assist with lead generation for this segment of the market. But what I like to do first is think of the target as, number one, focus on the job title. Who's the person that you want to go after? If I'm doing lead generation services, I'm thinking about this concept that VP of sales, that's the peanut butter and jelly. In a larger organization, the CEO doesn't care. They're busy doing things. Like, we have to think in a different frame. The CEO is busy doing things all day and they're running an organization. The person who's actually responsible for lead generation is probably marketing. But they wouldn't need lead generation marketing services from you if the marketing department was doing what the hell they were supposed to do. So who do you need to go after? The VP of sales. So I could say in a company that's somewhere between 20 to 50 employees or 50 to 100 employees, whatever it may be, I want to go after the VP of sales because he's the guy who's asking for more leads and no one's responding. And VP of sales, they have one goal, hit their number. That's it. Pipeline, hit the number. That's all they care about. So if you can do something for them, they're the quickest path to getting sales done. If you're in that space of advertising and marketing, and you need to go to them and help them generate more leads, and that's what you do, taking complete strangers, turn them into customers and promoters of the brand, that's the target. And so the targeting has to do with identifying who those people are, where do they live, what's their job title. Group segmentation can be really powerful. So be thinking about what groups could they be a part of. LinkedIn's not huge on groups, so it does work, but doesn't work all the time. But I'm just giving you all the information that I know. Are they in North America? What language do they speak? Who are they connected to who are in your connections? The target audience size that you want is probably somewhere between 2,000 and 20,000. And when you first run your audience, it's probably going to be like 200,000. And so keep segmenting by job title specifically, and this will come very important when we get to the actual campaign details, but keep segmenting by that job title to make it only one. This is like the only rule in it, is the job title needs to be one specific category of people. And the reason why is when you do your outreach, you're going to be talking about that specific group, and you don't want to use like the tokens that are leveraged in the automation software to drop it in, because it's going to impact what that looks like, and I'll explain it in the screenshots and the details later. But this is an important segment of this. So your target just has to come down to who is the programming partner of the problem that you want to solve. If you're in marketing, it's sales. If you're in sales, it's probably marketing or operations. These are very basic things. If you don't know these details about businesses, it might be hard for you to sell to businesses and knowing who to target. There's going to be more testing and optimization that are required. But the reality is, if you want to be successful, target the programming partner. What I mean by that is the person who's impacted most. Remember, if you're in advertising and you go to the marketing team, they want a new hire inside their organization and they're probably not doing their job. So go after the VP of sales. That's like a 5149. Like, I really want people to hear that, Devesh, which is, you think, if I do marketing, I'm going to go to marketing, or I'm going to go to the CEO. It's CEOs don't have time for that bullshit. They're not thinking about that. You need to go to the person who's responsible to generate resources in the company, and that's sales.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe give one more example of this, which is
I'll give
more on the creative side of things. Right?
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that because I was going to. So my buddy Sean Kaplan, who's also, we do business stuff together. We do Hope Dealer podcast together. Incredible guy. He runs something called Content Creator University. Okay. So now Sean, by profession, is a mortgage lender. Okay. He also leads a team. He's the number one producer for Cross Country Mortgage, the number 3 company in mortgage space in the whole United States. So this guy's really high caliber, okay? But what he does in order to stay in front of his audience and his partners, programming partners, remember, he's not going and teaching other mortgage lenders very specifically how to create content. He does that inside of his content studio with the people that he serves. That's like his secret sauce. But what he does to stay in front of his opportunity zone, realtors are the ones who bring him deals. So he's, as a mortgage lender, teaching realtors how to create Content Creator University. So I brought this to his attention and I said, hey, dude, we should do a campaign for you. Because nationally, it's people going to his Instagram account and coming to a Zoom call to learn every week. I said, we can take this process of being a content creator and build this group of people who are coming to Content Creator University, which is free. And we could run a campaign and reach out to 75 realtors a day and say, hey, simplest message to Vesh. This is, again, shockingly simple because people overcomplicate this stuff. Hey, I'm getting a group of realtors together to talk about creating viral content. Do you want to join? Sean. How many responses do you think you get where people are going to be like, yeah. And they go to his profile and they see his content and it's really good. They realize he's a lender. He's like part of the same team in a way. He's not the enemy, right? He's not trying to sell him anything because he's already really successful. It's a winning scenario. And the more people who get into Content Creator University, the benefit is in the long-term play, that brings Sean a whole lot more impact, influence, income, and opportunity. Like it literally solves the primary puzzle for him. And that's for somebody who doesn't need monetization because he already has his offers dialed in on his primary business. He already has lead generation dialed in his primary business, and he already has sales dialed in. This guy's closed over 10,000 deals. That's who I learned sales from. That's a perfect example of somebody who's more on the creative side is, again, just pick one thing. I said viral content. If I reach out to people, I typically say leads and sales. Why? Because this is what I'm solving. Does this make sense?
Yeah. No, that's awesome. In the leads, now that we have been talking about, we talked about profile, our profile optimization. We talked about target identification. What's next? I know you have talked about a very specific way, and I think you touched upon it just now as well, a very specific way of inviting them to engage with you. Talk a little bit about that invitation. How are you attracting this audience now that you have identified that audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to literally give you the juice here. And everyone has a spiritual NDA. What I'm going to show you is going to be your unfair advantage. What I'm going to show you is what's allowed me to talk to over 80 people a month. That's as one person doing just what I can. 80 people a month. Having conversations and going, hey, here's what's possible in order for us to collaborate and connect together. So I'm going to show you. So the first thing is I use an app. It's called Dripify. Inside of this implementation training, you'll be able to click into that. And this is where you need to go buy the software right now. So click the link that's in there and go buy the damn software right now. And this is going to be primary of how we do lead generation. So there's on the left-hand side, there's a dashboard, there's campaigns, inbox, leads, team, and settings. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to go to campaigns. That's what we're going to talk about right now. When you go to LinkedIn Navigator, on LinkedIn Navigator, we just talked about a leads list that we could create. In the top right, we have Sales Navigator. So I clicked into that. And then inside of here, we have these lead filters. Inside the lead filters is where you produce opportunities for all of these leads. Okay. So lead filter, I'm just going to say current job title is VP of Sales. Great. Now I'm going to go up here and say company headcount. Let's just say 11 to 50. Okay, wonderful. We're at 29,000 results. They're in North America and their industry is, let me just think about an industry that I've done stuff with before. Financial services. Okay, cool. Financial services. 1,500. Remember I said 200 to 20,000 roughly, or 2,000 to 20,000. So this is 1,500. That's a pretty good size opportunity. Okay, let's just roll with this list. Okay, so we got VP of Sales, 11 to 50 headcount, geography North America, industry financial services. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this link up here at the top. I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to pop on over here to campaigns. And this is where we build our first campaign. So the new campaign, we're going to hit add leads, give it a title. So this is going to be VP of Sales, North America, 11 to 50. Yep, excellent. And then down here, we're going to hit paste. And when we hit paste in that, we're going to click this little max button. We have 1,684 leads. So we're going to hit create a list, and this is going to generate the list for us immediately. Okay. So inside of this list, once it's generated, we're going to click next, and we're going to select lead generation as a template. Okay. You can also see the campaigns that I've run and some resources and documents inside the module of how I respond to leads and how I create an FAQ sheet. But I just want you to be able to get this thing on. That's my primary objective of what we're talking about right now. Part of the idea around the campaign and how I mastered a lot of these perspectives around persuasion and all the things that we talked about early on in the skill set category was I realized that if you're an expert, if you're a consultant, if you're selling services, you're in the relationship business. Mike Kim has one of my favorite quotes ever about marketing. Marketing is about opening up a relationship, not closing a sale. They're very different. And I want to open up an invitation. It's even funny because it says send an invite. But what do most people do? Have you ever been on LinkedIn? Have you ever gotten those requests? You ever seen them?
Yeah.
Hey, buy my shit. Hey, I'm doing this. You want to buy this? You got to remember, there's large companies, influencers, whatever, and they're like, if this is just a math game, they're like brand kamikaze. They don't even care. They're not even associated with that person because it's a VA in probably a different country who at the end of the day is sending out that message for them. So there's no brand attribution that's coming back to the individual. I'm doing this on my personal brand. My brand is everything. My reputation is everything. I'm not going to just go for the jugular and risk brand suicide in order to try to get someone to buy something because I need to generate $1. It's never going to work. It's like walking into a bar, seeing a chick and saying, hey, you want to get married? And she said, sorry, I missed your name. But that's how people treat this process. My invitation process is actually incredibly easy. Invitation goes a little something like this, Devesh. You ready for this magic? This is magic.
Yes.
Did you sign the spiritual NDA?
Yes.
Okay, he did. Okay, cool.
Everybody else did too.
Everybody else did too. You better. Hey, click this first name thing, and I got this little emoji wave. The emoji wave, man, is a head fake. Gets everybody. I'm getting a few sales VPs together to brainstorm getting leads and customers. Would you like to join us? This is what I do. Remember, I'm not trying to close deals. I'm trying to build relationships. Why? Because I'm in the relationship business. Nick Lauer has one of my favorite quotes as well, ever. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. If you really want to work with the people that are going to be lifetime clients that aren't just quick on conversion and transactional. Remember, if they're transactional, they'll just fire your ass when they're done with you too. People won't care how much you know until they know how much you care. This is the perfect point of this entry conversation of, hey, I'm getting a group of your peers together. I'm getting a group of sales VPs. I'm getting a group of doctors, but be very specific. I'm getting a group of hand surgeons together. I'm getting a group of financial planners together. I'm getting event managers together. You want to get speaking gigs? Put together a group of event planners and event managers and watch how quickly they go, you're amazing. Oh yeah, I speak, by the way, but I wasn't going to bring that up. And that comes up on conversation number 4. Be a good person. This is why I say it. It's primary, not only to my life, but it infiltrates everything that I do. I'm getting a few sales VPs together to brainstorm getting leads and customers. Would you like to join? Literally, you take this verbatim, you insert your avatar, you insert the 2 things. Remember the offer? What are you doing? I'm really good at content. Great. Then you're getting people together to brainstorm content. You might get a little sexy and say viral content. All right. If you're really good at it, do it. If you're somebody who's in mindset, one that I did with a client was I'm getting a group of corporate executives together to talk about how to help their teams address the psychological pressures that they're facing. We did this during COVID. I literally got my client on the phone with the head of the Jordan brand at Nike.
Wow.
That's the power of doing this correctly. Okay. So this is all you're going to do. You hit save. After this on the right, 1 hour later, it's going to endorse skills. It's just a I'm going first thing. So it's going to endorse their skills. They're going to see that pop in their feed. Like, hey, Nick endorsed you. So now when they go in 3 hours, because they're probably not sitting on LinkedIn the moment you send it, they open up their notifications first, because that's what people do. They see the notification, this person endorsed your skill. Oh, that was nice of them. Then they go to your inbox and they go, oh, they also sent me a message and they're getting a group of people together. They thought you want to come. See the mind trick, the Jedi mind trick. You endorse the skill. So now you're endorsing the skill and saying, hey, will you get together with these people? Because we're going to brainstorm some stuff. The psychological connection points there are extremely strong. Now, this is high integrity, but again, anything that's really this powerful can be used for good or bad. So what I want you to do now, after you endorse the skill, is adjust this for, let's just say, 1 day. Okay. So 1 day later, then we're going to go to this message and we're just going to say ping with a smiley face. That's what I like to do. Again, all these secondary messages don't matter as much as the first one. If I can just say ping with a smiley face. If you're somebody I would never say ping, just say, can you make it? You'll also notice that I don't do any capital letters and I don't use any proper punctuation. Why? People are wired to notice what's different. It's the first lesson that I learned in branding. People are wired to notice what's different. they'll notice that it's not that way. And what their brain says, because they are not going, how is this marketer hacking my consumer psychology? Their brain says it's like a text message.
Yeah.
Who texts them? Family and friends. It reduces the threat level. And then they're going to say, what? Wait, what's the date? All you want to do is get them to engage and respond. Now, the next message that you can send after, and by the way, these messages are only sending if they don't respond to you. For the people who respond to you, it's going to stop these message sequences immediately so that you can start having a conversation with them. The next message that you could send, I would say, is you prompt it for 3 days later. So we're not reaching out too much. And we could just say something like, hey, I know you're probably super busy. Just thought I'd ask if you're interested in attending. Again, just keep it super simple. Think of what you would say to someone in person. Hey, we don't want to say follow up or checking in. You say, hey, I'd really love for you to be there. I think you can contribute a lot. Hey, I'd love to see you there. I'd love to see you at the next meeting. That's one way you can do it. Now, the last message is pretty simple. Hey, we missed you this time around. We should connect sometime one-on-one to make things easy. Here's my calendar. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop them the calendar link that I'm going to use for everybody after they attend that Zoom webinar, whatever that I'm going to get people to, which we'll talk about in a minute. But when we say, hey, we're going to do this brainstorming session, do you want to join? We're going to get a bunch of people to join that session. Okay. And so for the people who don't, typically what I like to do is use the same link, or if you want something semi-advanced, it's a 15-minute intro. So you can just meet them and it's a quick 15-minute call. And if you're using Calendly, don't make this a Zoom call. Newsflash. People are sick of being on fucking video calls. It's true. A lot of people don't like that anymore. So what my suggestion would be is to do a phone call that's 15 minutes and you only close on video if so that's your desire. I'm building a business where I don't have to be on video ever unless it's like this because I'm on the go and that's just my format and my formula. So there's a 15-minute calendar that you need to make. If you don't have a Calendly account, you need to create one. And we're going to need them to do a 15-minute call. The one question that you have on that document is what would make this call extraordinary? That's it. Because who asked that? I do. But if you're going to emulate the success that I've had, I need you to do what I've done. And when you ask questions like that, people go, this dude's wired different. So make sure you show up on that call to build a relationship and not to close a sale and to be someone who's creating contribution in their life and not just trying to hose them and sell them. Okay? I think we're pretty much complete with this section. Here's one last thing that I'll say. Once this sequence is done, you're going to hit next. You're going to type in your campaign name. Usually in the campaign name, what you want to do is name it the same exact thing that you had before. So this is going to be VP of Sales. And then I had 11 to 50 employees. North America. Usually try to put the audience size in there too, 1.5K. Hit save and launch. One thing that I'll do before you hit save and launch, man, I'm going to have a lot of editing to do, is say they don't have a free LinkedIn account. They don't have less than 500 connections. No photo on leads profile. So do not add to the campaign if. We check that as well. It'll take longer for the leads to upload. But the benefit is you have people who are actually active on the platform. And so this lowers the chance of just sending it to a bunch of accounts that no one's going to ever see anyways. So you click all those, you hit save and launch. And when you do, it turns into a campaign. You can click into these. You can see the person's information. You can get their email address. In fact, you can even hit export on this document and you can get their phone numbers. You get everything. That's why LinkedIn's really powerful. You get a lot. You can see on this campaign a 57% acceptance rate. 53 people out of about 90 something that I sent it to all accepted my request. 57. When's the last time that you sent 100 invites in a day? I was able to generate 26 leads off of this in 12 hours. That's the power of doing this. And what are we doing? We're inviting them into a conversation. That's how executives work. They do roundtables. They do strategy sessions. They want to learn what's working, what's not working, so they can help their teams perform better. 35% of people replied.
Awesome.
Again, when's the last time that you sent out 100 messages and you got 35 people to reply to you and say, yes, I want to have a conversation with you about what you do. That happened in one day. That's the benefit of this process. That's how it works. I hope this was helpful.
It was. Thank you.
I want to end something on the campaign. If you want something that you've never had, you've got to do something that you've never done. And most people that I know who are in the process of wanting to build an empire and be a 700K solopreneur is they've never had a mechanism or a system to generate leads. And it doesn't have to happen through ads. It doesn't have to happen through like blasting people with a bunch of information and being annoying and spammy in text messages or inside of Messenger or inside of different platforms. There's a very specific way where the 1%, I promise you, 1% makes 100% of the difference. And you will not sound or be like anyone else, and you will win the heart and the attention of the people that you want to serve. When it comes to the process of inviting people, there's two things that are going to happen. You're going to execute this campaign and you're going to start inviting people in. The thing that I want to give you a frame of reference on from a mindset perspective, to give real service, you must add something which cannot be bought or measured with money, and that is sincerity and integrity. The process around doing invitation strategy this way is it has sincerity and integrity. Your job on this call is to be a facilitator. I want you to imagine going into this call where you ask people to come brainstorm with you. I want you to be thinking about those individuals as clients who are already paying you and who are in a mastermind program with you. For the people who don't follow up, and we're going to get into more of how to deliver that in just a moment. For the people who don't follow up, maybe you send them the message and nothing happens. You're going to still have an ability to follow them and have them in your leads list and to reach out into the future. But I want to focus on hot opportunities where people are replying right now. Because every day that you reach out, you're going to be getting 10, 20, 30, 40 plus people who are saying, yes, I want to be a part of this. How that's going to happen is the people who initially respond. Here's the golden rule. You have to respond to them within 5 minutes. Not everyone sits around on LinkedIn all day. This is just like advertising. We do the same thing. You've got to respond to them within 5 minutes. It increases their chances of conversion by 800%. MIT did a study on this. It's wildly shocking, but you've got to capture them in the moment. So if someone says, yes, I would love to attend. Perfect. Here's a question I ask. What's your best email address? I just want to make sure this hits your calendar. Because a lot of these people who are in business, they live and die by their calendar. So you've got to make sure that you send it over, that it's going to hit their calendar. And what I prefer to do is every other Wednesday. That's when I do mine, every other Wednesday. You can pick any day of the week that you want. Make sure it's around lunch or the afternoon. Just think of, for the most part, like webinars, like when someone would be able to sit and watch those. These are live. This is like a brainstorming session. This is a facilitation. This is group learning. It's very different. But the timing sequences of when someone has some extra time, don't ever do this in the morning because most people are trying to get their work done. Towards the end or later of the day, it's a different story. But for the people who don't respond, let's just talk about the people who say, nope, not interested. Wish you luck. Great. I'm not in the business of convincing people of anything. It's not my job. My job is to help people who are in need. The second thing is if you send all these messages out and you're going, okay, what about the people who say yes, and then my call isn't for a week or 8 days or even 3 days? Do I do anything else? You've got to follow what you believe is right. For me, sometimes I'll just send someone a voice memo. So here's some options. You can send someone a voice memo. So after you send out the invite, you could kick a voice memo over and you can say, hey, Larry, what's up? It's Nick. I just want to make sure that you got my calendar invite. I just sent it over to you. And I'm really excited to meet you, man. I think we're going to have a great time together and hopefully we can invest in our peers. And yeah, I'm just grateful to meet you and excited to have a few minutes to collaborate with you. That goes an extremely long way. Why? Because personalization matters. It's the most powerful thing in marketing. Outside of your ability to actually give a crap about the people that you serve, personalizing things is the ultimate conversion point. Go read the HubSpot sales insights for 2024. Personalization is massive. So that matters. That goes a long way. Some of you might say, hey, how can I integrate this with webhooks and other things? Again, I don't want you to get too deep. My goal is to get you into a really simple system. But in the bonus section, I will tell you about ways that you can integrate this into a leads list. From that leads list, how you can attach it to webhooks. Those webhooks can take them and place them into a CRM if you have one, and set up automated emails that go out so that you can remind people that can set up post-event emails. So after that person attends the event, that you can get them over into a 30-minute call with you in order to learn about if they're the right fit to collaborate with you. So for the people who don't come through, think about it on an email list of people who open but don't click. There's a million things you can do. But my thing is for you is only focus on the people right now that say yes. Get them the invitation. Once you get the invitation, you're going to literally put them into a Google or Outlook, whatever you use, every other week. You're going to have a repeating event. And you're literally going to grab those people. Hey, does this date work better or this date? So, the 10th or that'd be the 24th. Which one works better? The 10th. Great. Fill that one with 20 to 30 people. After you get 20 to 30 people, that one's done. So now if anybody says, hey, we have one coming up, and you're like, there's one in 8 days, but that's the one on the 10th. You got to give them the 24th, but you tell them, hey, listen, we have one on the 10th, but it's already full and it's waitlisted. How about the 24th? Does that work for you? What are you showing? People are doing this. People want to do this. I had a point of where I had like literally 3 of 6 weeks long. They were all full. That's a good problem to have. Now I'm considering maybe I should do it every week, right? So this is how we build it. And again, focus on the people who are responding. Focus on the ones who are interested. Focus on the ones who they're identifying when you say, hey, this is what we're going to be talking about. This is a problem that we want to solve. What are they doing? They're self-selecting by saying, I have the problem. The ones who say, no, thanks, not right now, I'm too busy. They don't have time because they don't have the problem. But at the end of the day, you find somebody who's in diabetic shock and you have an EpiPen and you say, hey, you want the EpiPen? And they're like, no, thanks. I think I'm good. No, if they're in pain and they're having a big problem, guess what? They're going to raise their hand and say, I want your help.
I believe there is power in also being ready with if your call is, say, 3-4 weeks out because you're doing it for the first time or whatever. Maybe a power move you can also make in addition to that voice memo idea, which I love. Something you can do is offer them a one-on-one consultation in that same time too, saying, hey, I understand this is top of mind for you and this conversation is 3 weeks out, but if you would like to talk about this, here's my calendar to book a 15-minute call.
Yeah.
And that's powerful because, again, I go by that guiding principle that you shared, which is it's about opening up the invitation, opening up the relationship.
Yeah.
And there is nothing more powerful than a 15-minute one-on-one conversation. Again, keep in mind you're going in that call with the sentiment of opening a relationship and not closing a sale. So resist that, oh, I know that you have the problem, so let me sell you that EpiPen right away. Right? Yeah,
totally. They need to be the ones who ask you for it. And I've learned this in my life. Part of my life strategy is to wait for the invitation. I wait for people to invite me into their problem. And if they don't, that's fine. I've just learned that then I'll be recognized for the things I don't want to be recognized for if I push too hard. So a theory around this, and to your point of maybe get them into that 15-minute call. We talked about that for Calendly. You got the 15 to 30-minute. In that 15-minute call, that's the one where you ask what would make this call extraordinary. You could literally preset that. I would send the voice memo back to our point of like tactics, because this is where like hand-to-hand combat, that I know this stuff so well. I would literally say something to them. Hey, awesome. Perfect. I got you on. I just want to make sure you got it. And by the way, I don't know if you're up for it, but I got a little room in my calendar this week. I'd love to just get a chance to meet you and hear your story, hear what you're up to, what's exciting for you that's coming up this year. You know, I noticed that you guys went on a family trip with your kids to Positano, and my wife and I were actually thinking about going there next year. So anyway, sounds crazy, but I think there's some cool synchronicity. I'd love to meet you. Game over. Game over. No one responds to that and says, no. You've got to be a human being who can tap someone on the shoulder, who can make initial contact, who can have a deep conversation, who could be more interested than interesting. You win the relationship, you'll win the sale. Again, put it on your forehead. If you win the relationship, you'll win the sale. People like to do business with people, yes, that they like, but the people who understand them the best. And if you can understand the prospect a little bit better without coming off as someone who's just trying to get someone pre-sold before they sell them, you're going to win the hearts of people and the fortunes and the follow-up, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So let's talk a couple of bonus items for this section. Then we can move to the next section.
Okay.
Right? The 2 bonus items that I had thought of, and you mentioned a couple. So 2 that I thought of was, one is these people will get busy themselves.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's how I'm going to preface this. But the bonus material is for how to do this at a recorded level. Remember you had mentioned the VSL or whatever webinar idea that these calls can happen automatically. So that's one. The other one that I wanted to talk about is how to duplicate this same thing on IG or other platforms.
Yeah.
So those are 2 bonus materials. And whatever else you want to talk about bonus in the leads area, then we will go to sales. Cool. Nick, this is awesome. And if we did all these things and got clear with our offer, made this lead engine, so to speak, and send these invites, we ourselves as the 700K solopreneurs will start to get busy. So are there strategies that can make us more efficient? So what would it look like if this was recorded and I don't have to do it week over week or every 2 weeks?
Yeah. So the primary thing is this process has to be mastered because we're in the relationship business. There's also this quantifiable of you're going to get really busy. So here's the deal. You can't forsake doing this for then doing something different. So for everybody listening, if you want to become a 700K solopreneur, you can never outsource building relationships. Sorry, if you don't like it, go build a tech company. That's the reality. Go build a widget and let people buy it like Calendly. I didn't have to talk to anybody to get Calendly. If you're not a type of person who wants to be in the relationship business, then you're in the wrong training. So you can never outsource your relationship growth. You can never outsource your credibility. You can never outsource the energetic connection and the synchronicity and the personality that you carry. It's your energy, your story, your magic, the uniqueness of who you are that gets people to want to work with you in conjunction with you understanding their problems and how you can help them. That's what they're looking for. My strategy was to be the most trusted person in the room. That's what made me win in business initially. So here's what I'll say. For those of you who want to say, can I do this in a VSL? Is there a way I can do this in a VSL? Okay, Nick, I'm bought in. I'll never not do this every other week call, and I'll always be connecting and always be collaborating with people. I will say this. For the people who might not be able to attend, you might say, hey, just so you know, I know you weren't able to attend this time, but I took the highlights of the call and condensed it down to 11 minutes. And here's the 11-minute version, and I hope it serves you well. So on that, they're going to be able to see, okay, I don't know, maybe it's Loom. I don't really care how you deliver it. I don't get into heavy delivery. There are some very specific tools I ask you to use, but with this, I don't give a crap. If you decide to give someone a highlighted version, that's totally fine. Maybe you send it out to the entire leads list every single time with all the people you've talked to. And every time you do one of these calls, you're like, hey, we had another call. Here's what we did. Here's the highlight of the video. Here's the stuff that we learned together. Here's the things that we reviewed. Being top of mind is a very good strategy, but it will never replace your ability to connect with people one-on-one. Because without those connection points, you lose the credibility when you get to the sales process because they don't know you, like you, trust you, or have an understanding of your energy. They might think you're smart, but that's only half the battle. So there is a way to do it. I would say that's in the multiplying factor. And speaking of multiplication, here's the wild thing. We're going to start with LinkedIn. Currently on LinkedIn, we can get up to about 75 outreaches a day. If you think about that on a month, 75 times 30, we're looking at what? I don't know, maybe 2250 a month.
Yeah.
As far as how many outreaches we're doing every single month. Let me ask you a question. When's the last time that you did 2,200 outreaches in a month for your business? The reality is most of you did less than 20. And you're never going to grow your business doing it that way. That's why we focus on the outbound activity in order to bring the inbound charge. And that's what's going to properly position you to be able to kill it. Because then all you got to do is show up, facilitate a conversation, create a meaningful connection, showcase your expertise minorly. You have nothing to prove and nothing to defend. You only have information, sincerity, and integrity to share. The multiplying factor has to do with this. We're going to do LinkedIn first. After LinkedIn, let's just say it's 2,000-ish outreaches a month. Great. You can add 5 VAs if you want and get up to 10,000 outreaches a month if that's what you want to do. You can have these calls packed with 100 people if that's what you want. Personally, I think it's a little much. You get a sales team, just activate one person and have them watch what you do. You watch them do it and you coach them and then have them do it on your own if you really want to scale it. The other reality is, you could use apps like Instantly AI. And you can literally go to the same exact thing, upload a leads list and not turn on the campaign, upload the leads list, then download all the information to do phone calls. If you want someone to call those people and tell them what you're doing, you could use Instantly AI to send emails. And you could get massive lists of emails or use other syndicated sites for email marketing. So we got 2,000 outreaches on LinkedIn. Great. We can also send up to 500 emails a month. Great. On a monthly scale, you can send up to, I think it's about 50 emails a day, 100, 200. I think it's actually 200 on Instantly, 200 emails a day. So you got 200 emails a day on one domain, saying 200 emails a day to the same group of people that you can serve, so the same sales VPs who you can help. Then you can do this on Instagram. We're starting with LinkedIn because it's the place where people do business. But for some of you, very small few of you, Instagram might be a better place to do it. So there's scraping tools and automation tools. And at the end of the day, don't use your own profile to do this, please. Like, you'll get yourself potentially in trouble. But I don't know. There's this gray area in all of this stuff where it's like, when the tools are available, you've got to do what it takes to win. You've got to be a competitor. I remember a deflate gate in the NFL. It's like the balls were like a little soft. That sounds terrible. The footballs were a little soft. And so that gave someone an unfair advantage. You've got to be aggressive. You've got to figure it out. It's a contact sport. If you need to find the people, there's multiple different things we're going to train you on. We're going to have LinkedIn, email, Instagram, different phone services. I want you to be able to get unlimited leads for your business. And I will tell you right now, the number one reason why you don't have an insane amount of cash flow is because you have underwhelming leads. And the reason why you have underwhelming leads is for two things. One, you're spending way too much time doing shit you hate for people who don't care. Or number two is you don't have a good enough compelling offer that you would go tell your friends about it. That's why in the primary first section, you're going to see a training of where you've got to call 25 people who are closest to you, and you've got to pitch this to them. And you've got to allow them to say, hey, yes, I'll help you. Hey, do you know anybody who? Do you know anybody who needs viral content? Hey, do you know anybody who needs unlimited leads? Hey, do you know anybody who needs to close 10 deals in the next month that I can help? They're going to know people if you properly position it. And you won't know that unless you know what your offer is, you know what your framework is, and you know how you're going to deliver it ahead of time. So all this stuff ties in. Am I answering your question, Devesh?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think we are good with the leads. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover in leads or any other bonus?
I'll just say one last thing. In the multiply section, over time, we're going to train on the multiplication of lead generation so you can get to that place where we have unlimited leads. LinkedIn is the primary place of where you're going to do lead generation very specifically because that's where people in business do business. There's live events, there's networking, there's Instagram, there's Facebook groups, there's cold email, there's a million different strategies. There's databases, there's AI, a million different ways. I promise you, again, think about it. You probably don't have the capacity in full. Right at this moment, if I said, I'm going to send you 30 leads a day, they're going to say, I want to be a part of what you're doing. You'll be like, I got other stuff to do. I'm going to spend my whole day responding to these people. I'm like, no, you're going to spend a good amount of your time responding to these people if you want to do what it takes to win. Because you've got to do something you've never done in order to get a result that you've never got. And this is part of the game. But like Andrew, we talked about earlier, when you know your exact process and how you deliver, and you can focus on the pragmatic, simple steps from A to B to C, C to D, D to E, you will have a streamlined business that's profitable, that's fulfilling, and that's sustainable.
It's awesome. Thank you. All right, Nick. So amazing stuff. And now, for those who have shown up, for many of those who are watching this, they may have not conducted this kind of a call. Imagine I went out, ran the campaign, and now I have 10, 20, 40, whatever number of people have said, yes, I want to come to this call.
Yep.
And I know you mentioned, think of it as a mastermind, think of it as a facilitated call. Go unpack this. What does this call look like? How should I show up? How should I facilitate? How should I make sure that I'm teeing up for not only a great experience in the call, but also at the same time warming them up for what's about to come, which is the sales part?
Yeah. So this is actually, again, wildly simple. And we'll include some resources that give you an outline of how to do this. I'll say that an outline or a script should never be overridden by your intuition. Use your sensing ability. Use your ability to, if you have the ability to work a room and to understand where the direction these things are going. For 99% of you, I think that you should be able to facilitate a conversation. That's why I chose to teach this path. I'm not asking you to try to follow some type of script. I'm just giving you a general framework. The framework frames the work. When you're getting into this call, I want you to think about first, have you ever been part of a mastermind that was really relational, where you felt like really connected and like you belonged? Or it's even a tableside conversation. You ever been at the dinner table with friends and you just had a really meaningful conversation and people were sharing stories and it just felt, I don't know, you had this feeling about, I'm really grateful to be sitting at the table with these people. I'm really grateful to have the stories that I can contribute to. Someone's always sitting at the head of the table and they're the person facilitating. And again, I learned this from Mike Kim. He taught me how to run masterminds. He taught me how to bring a little bit of framework around the process of gathering people together. And so what I figure out here's the framework. Number one, you are a facilitator. I want you to think of yourself like a substitute teacher at the front of the classroom. Why substitute? Because the teacher has an agenda. The substitute teacher doesn't. They're just trying to figure out like how to keep people active, but still maybe teach on some core principles, or maybe still share something, maybe have a meaningful experience. But that primary teacher is like, all right, here's what has to get done, right? So let's frame it as the fun teacher, the one who's expressive, and the one that you can connect with in a meaningful way. When you get everybody to the call, the first thing that I want you to focus on for the first 5 minutes is allowing people to come in and having conversation. And it's simple. It's called FORD. Family, occupation, recreation, dreams.
Oh, recreation. Oh, yeah. Did you ski?
There's a formula that I want you to think about for the first 5 minutes as people are coming in, because this is usually where it's most awkward. All right, yeah, everybody's coming in the room. Do I play music? Do I call on people? Are they going to have their cameras on? Are they not going to have their cameras on? Really simple. Have your camera on. Be present. Don't do this in your car or at a Taco Bell or a Starbucks. You need to be somewhere where it's quiet, where you're settled and you're engaged and you're ready to facilitate a conversation. The thing that I like to start with in the first 5 minutes, here's your mini framework on knowing how to not be awkward. Ford. Just like Henry Ford, just like the Ford Motor Company. Number one, family. So when people are coming in, hey, thanks so much for joining. Hey, what's up, Rick? How's it going, man? My favorite statement that breaks the ice every single time. I say to people, what's cracking? That's my vibe. That's my style. I'll be like, hey, what's going on, man? How's life? What's cracking? For some reason, it just diffuses them immediately. Or I'll just say, how's life? Or I'll do them both or whatever. But it works. So Mark will go, yeah, pretty good. Just thanks for having me on. He might also be very awkward and say, hello, thank you. And you're like, okay, how am I going to work with this talent? Then you just go to the next person. That's what I do. All right, Larry's joined us. Mary's joined us. Okay, hey, Mary. She seems bubbly and she's getting her glasses on. And you're like, okay, Mary, hey, it's great to have you here. How's it going? And she's, oh, hey. People will match your energy. Yeah. So if you're like this and you're having conversations, they're going to match your bullshit energy. If you're excited and you're vibrant and you're glad to be there, guess what? They'll be glad to be there too. Ford, F-O-R-D, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Mary, so you got any kids? Oh, yes. Actually, my son, he just graduated college and blah, blah, blah. Immediately they're talking. Be more interested than interesting. Second one, occupation. I just want to make sure. So when you were coming into the call and have your LinkedIn profile up, I noticed are you still at McGraw-Hill? Is that still where you're at, VP of Sales? Oh, yeah. So how's it going there? Oh, it's going good. Cool. Awesome. So then you may have the next person. Oh, Rick just joined. You go back to Rick. Rick, so what are you looking forward to? What are you excited about? What are you looking forward to? You guys going skiing this winter? Who knows? Make something up. It's so easy. This is not small talk. This is rapport. Because people will very quickly realize in the first couple minutes that you're not there to sell them anything. And if you go look up how to build rapport and how to have easy conversations, what's going to happen is you're going to read some bullshit sales script from 1998 that people used to use, and it's going to turn off your audience because they're going to smell it. Especially if you're working with salespeople, they can smell a mile away. They smell blood. So be very mindful of how you do this. The first 5 minutes is to build rapport. Have fun conversations. Make people feel comfortable. If you're uncomfortable, then have someone in the room with you who is comfortable. Ask one of your friends, colleagues, someone else in this program to join the call with you to support you. So you can call on them first. And if you have low energy, they can text you, they can message you, or they can bring a lot of excitement and energy to the conversation. You don't have to have a huge personality to do this. You just can't be awkward. Okay? It goes for you as much as if I was running a class teaching guys how to talk to girls. Marketing's the same game. LinkedIn is more like Tinder than you realize. And so we have to play the game. We have to be approachable and confident. First 5 minutes, just keep people warm. Okay. Now the next part is I like to talk about wins and resources. Most people in business don't celebrate anything. They're told what to do. They're under a lot of stress and pressure, and they're not information sharing with their peers because they're too busy. And in addition, they don't celebrate their wins. So I like to set the stage. After that first 5 minutes, people are gathering and I go like, all right, listen up everybody. Here's how we're going to do this. I appreciate you all being here. I'm going to go around the room. I need y'all to move fast because we are going to all have a lot to share today. It's going to be a lot of fun, but I need you to get lickety split, get to the point. 30 seconds, who you are, where you live, what you do. And then I want you to tell us about one resource that you found recently that has been valuable for you in business. So a resource that's been valuable. And I want you to share one big win that you've had. You got 60 seconds. I got a little timer here. Get your phone out. 60 seconds, go. Popcorn style. So what you do is you say, Devesh, I'm going to call on you first. You're going to run it back. 60 seconds. I'm going to cut you off if you don't end in time. I'm just going to say next. And you pick the next person who's going to go. We're going to go around the room. All right. So here we go. Boom. People do it 30 to 60 seconds. They'll call on the next person, call on the next person, call on the next person. Again, rapport building. I'm here to serve. I have integrity. I'm not here to sell anything. It's simple. People are going to know it. You don't have to say it. After that, about 10 minutes or so, maybe 20 minutes, of people sharing in 30 seconds to a minute. This is where you get into the meat of what you're going to share. And here's how I like to position it. All right. So people come in, we do the Ford method. After the Ford method, we focus on getting people to have conversations and choose one another. This is just warming up the room. Boom. Now we're about 20 minutes into the call. So what you're going to say is this. Hey, listen, so I really appreciate you all being here. I know we're here to talk about leads and sales. I'm super curious about what's working in everybody's world. I want insider secrets. Okay, people? Don't be holding back on me now because we're all peers, but I don't see any of us as competitors. We can all read the same websites, read the same blog posts. Information's a commodity, but I'm curious about what's working for you and why. Whether it's the performance of your team or what you're doing in leads or ad strategies that are unique or softwares that you've been leveraging that are working or how you're leading your team uniquely. I don't care what it is, but those are the things that I'm curious about learning from some of you today. I'll go first to demonstrate how this should go down. All right. So I'm going to take 10 minutes or so, maybe 15 minutes. I'm just going to walk you through what's working for me. Does that sound fair? I work with a lot of different companies, so I have a unique angle on what I believe is working holistically. And I'm just going to share that with you guys. I'll set the example, and then who's going to go after me? Okay, boom. I saw your hand first. You're going to go right after me. Sound fair? All right, sweet. Then you roll into it. You got 10 minutes, 15 minutes at best. You talked about mini VSL the other day, right? Or a moment ago. The mini VSL is basically the same process. So what do? Hey, you remember when we first started this thing? We said, hey, you need to have an adopted offer. Okay, so you start at the top. Most people that I know are struggling with this. So I help them with this. Most people that I know are looking to help their team generate more leads. So what I've been doing, be careful in your statements, because again, one little misstep here and they could hear a sales statement and it's going to throw off the whole thing. So what I focus on doing is really helping like this divergent group of people. There's a lot of different people, different industries, but they all have the same problem. And I'm helping their sales teams increase their self-generated leads by 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% month over month. And it's been insane. And I'm literally just going to just show you right now exactly how I'm doing it. So you have the problem statement. Most are experiencing this. So here's what I'm doing. Then you think of your methodology. What are those 3 to 4 primary steps that you're doing? Boom. You pull it up and you start showcasing the process. You might be in a totally different vertical. You might be a graphic designer. You might be in video. You might be in healthcare. You might be in wellness. All you have to do is most people are having this problem. Here's how I'm helping them. And let me show you. Show, don't tell. Give away all. IP is currency. Intellectual property, your process, how you do things is currency. You're trading it on your influence with the individual. Trust me, when you give away the strategy, people will want to know how you did it. And guess what? They don't have any time, any energy to go do it. When you're like, I got the blueprint and I know how to do it immediately and here's the results that I'm getting. So you want to give away the strategy and sell the implementation. Give away the strategy, sell the implementation. Here's what we're doing. Here's how I'm creating viral content for my clients that's getting them an increase of 10,000 new impressions every single month. So here's what I do. And then you literally do a screen share. Here's what's cool about a screen share. People process information that they can see 600 times faster than what you say. I'll say that again. People process information 600 times faster when they can see it versus what you say. Most people are afraid to share because they don't want to have the person just go steal it and just go do it. Guess what? 99% of people won't steal it. They'll ask for your help. It's part of the reason why people fail. So You just took 15 minutes or so to showcase exactly what you did. I'm focused on taking complete strangers and turning them into promoters of the brand. I'm helping someone increase their self-generated leads by 300% or more. I want to show you exactly what I do. First, I focus on the foundations of how the internet works. In business, I use HubSpot's methodology. How many of you are familiar with HubSpot? Okay, cool. So HubSpot's all about taking a complete stranger and turning them into a promoter of the brand. How do you do that? There's 5 stages. You have strangers, visitors, leads, customers, and promoters. So you can see it on the screen. There's the 5. So how do you get there? You have to attract, engage, convert, and close. How do you attract, engage, convert, and close? Content, leads, sales, and whatever. So you can literally showcase the process. This is the process I use. Great. Let me show you the tools that I use now. So one of the tools I'm using is called LinkedIn Navigator. How many of you do that? Great. How many of you are having success with it? Great. How many of you aren't? What are the challenges? What are the problems? What are the whatever? Now, my unconscious competence, meaning they're going to say, we don't get people to respond. And I immediately go, I totally get it. 99% of people don't know what to say because they're trying to close a deal. They're not trying to get engagement. If I walked up to you at a bar and I said, hey, you want to get married? And the person said, I'm sorry, I missed your name. How is that going to make the other person feel? So the primary thing is you can use your unconscious competence to say, you know what? I bet you. Actually, I'm willing to make a bet on it. If we were to adjust just one thing in your campaign, I bet you we could 10 extra leads. I'd be like, holy crap. And then I'd say to everybody, listen, I don't know, maybe I'm Rain Man or something and I figured out something really unique about this. But if anybody is in a circumstance or situation of where you want help with this, like I'm giving you everything away today. But at the end of the day, if you're like, Nick, this is great and I love it, but I just want you to do it for me, I'm just going to drop my call link inside of the chat and you guys can. It's totally up to you. And you just leave it there. You showcase the strategy and then you allow people to self-select and enroll. You could also go the other way and just say, hey, if anybody wants to know like more about the specifics of what I'm doing, because again, you got like this 10 to 15 minute frame. So you got to show the result, show how you're doing it, just enough to pique their interest and go, wow, here's the results that I'm getting, a 56% acceptance rate, and I'm getting a 40% reply rate. Those numbers are unheard of. They have a freaking genius sitting in front of them. They'd be stupid not to ask if they have the problem. That's what you want to do. You want to take your expertise and showcase it in front of someone else by saying, here's the thing for free. Then let them say, I want your help. I think there's many ways to receive that invitation of, hey, listen, it's not complicated. If anybody's looking for my help on this, I'm glad to help you. So I'll put my link inside of the thing and we'll create transitional bridges and different phraseology that you can leverage in order to make switches throughout the context of this. But that's just an example of how I do it. Then I'll let the other person share. And before you know it, sometimes you get to 50 minutes and you've been talking for the last 25, but everyone's so curious when you say, are there any questions? And you get like 7, 8 hands up. You're like, shit, we're going to run out of time. So if we're running out of time, here's the deal. While we're on this call, like if you have your hand raised, I'll go through this one-on-one with you. And again, people will buy the implementation. You can show them everything. They're not going to do it. And this is what the difference is between someone who's a 7K solopreneur and someone who's not.
Awesome. Awesome. Any other tips or tricks or suggestions, best practices, guidelines for closing this call? Like how you wrap this up then?
Usually when I'm wrapping up these calls, we're running out of time.
Okay.
So I go, hey, listen, I know we got to share some stuff. I do this often. I do it every other week. But I like to stay in touch with y'all. How many of you would like to come back again? How many of you thought this was valuable? And so what I've learned is just like, I can invite them to additional calls. I try not to do that all the time because then they're like, I need to hire you if you just keep telling everyone everything and give them all the secrets away. But I like to invite them in that next step. And so wherever there's a time constraint, there's always this was valuable and now I want more time with you. That leads you into the 30-minute conversation.
Awesome.
So here's the thing, Devesh, and this is what's important. After you get done with that call, usually you're going to have a time constraint. If you don't have a time constraint, it probably wasn't interesting enough, or you're just really damn good at being punctual. And if that's the case, that's fine. Just invite people to the 30-minute call. The whole point is that you get out of the 75 people a week that you contact, that you're going to get 30 people who are going to show up to a call. Out of the 30 people who show up to a call, you're going to get 10 people who are going to book with you one-on-one. Out of the 10 people who book with you one-on-one, you're going to close 1 to 3 of those people into a deal. That's how it's going to work. So if the first step is the automation and the invitation, the next step is the group call, or like I like to call it, the mini mastermind. After the mini mastermind, then you have a 30-minute call. And what's unique about that is I use Calendly. And on Calendly, you have to ask 5 questions that must be true in order for someone to work with you. If you get 2 people per call that book, but you know that 10 people tried, but they didn't want to answer the questions because they don't want to work with you, that's a good thing. Don't waste your time. I know for you, you ask, hey, do you have a coach right now? No. Do you want one? Yes. Great. That's a primary qualification. Those things have to be true for someone to work with you. So in those lines of questioning, I want you to position them like you would to a friend or a family member. Not, what are your needs and goals? No. All of the answers to those 5 questions are either yes or no. One of my qualifying questions is, do you believe in a higher power? If someone doesn't, I'm not going to jam with them. I'm just not, because I talk about those things too much. Focus on not only sophistication, but also the situational awareness on where that person's at. Because people are, there's psychographics, there's demographics. Just ask the freaking 5 questions. You can write them down right now. What 5 things have to be true in order for someone to work with you? For mine, I said them earlier. Number 1, you need to have a lack of control that's happening right now in your business. Number 2, you have to be in a place where you want to make more money. Number 3, you have to be hitting a glass ceiling. Number 4, you have to lack the skill or the team. And number 5, you have to have already tried everything else and nothing works. Those 5 things are true. That's an easy way for me to work with someone, but they got to be true. And by the way, I got that from the EOS system. Those are the 5 things they built EOS on, Entrepreneur Operating System. Those are the 5 things they built it on, were those key problems.
Awesome. Great. Well, I think that brings us to the close of the leads. And now that we have created the offer, we have generated the interest, people have come to these calls, we are having awesome conversations, folks are raising their hands, and now we are ready to close some deals. So now we are getting from offer to leads to finally the sales. And for many of us who aspire to become that 700K solopreneur, they may have not done sales systematically. They may have not done sales at all. So many different situations. So let's now get into sales. So when you say sales, first of all, what do you mean? What does the sales look like in the OLS system? And then let's go step by step.
Yeah. So when you're having a conversation with someone, I think that the qualify portion of getting them on the phone and having that first 30-minute conversation, some people need to have a bridge. So there's like the 15-minute call where they need to get to know you. But if they just spend an hour with you, you don't need to have a 30-minute call to talk about what you do and then a 30-minute call to get them to close. So this 30-minute call, which is really your sales call, is really important. The most sacred invitation that a person can extend to us is to invite us into their pain or their problem. Like, we have to see it that way, because we then approach this conversation with a sense of, I'm here to bring healing to this person's situation. I'm here to help them. And the reason why I tell people, encourage 5 people a day, is because it changes you, not the people just that you invest into and say something kind to. And it's the same principle here. In order for us to have this opportunity to be invited into someone's pain, we often have to knock on a door that we're not used to knocking on. And that's why I think sales is uncomfortable for a lot of people, is they're not used to having to walk into that pain and figure it out. And we usually are avoidant of those conversations. So I'm just trying to set the heart set correctly here. Remember what Nick Lauer said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Now they know you care. You spent an hour with people, you invested into them. Now you're ready to have this 30-minute conversation. The 30-minute conversation needs to be really simple. In fact, it can be done in 5 minutes, but usually you're going to spend some time reconnecting and figuring out what the hell's going on in their life, and it just takes 5 questions. So the first thing that I do is I build rapport. I connect with them. How's your week? How's things going since the last time we talked? Oh, hey, just out of curiosity, what brought you there the first time? What was going on in the business? I'm already in the sales process and people don't even know it. The first step is figure out where they're at now. That's number 1. What's life look like now? What brought you in? This is what's going on, blah, blah, blah. It's funny, you actually hit me at a really interesting time of where I was just trying to figure this out. And I was like, dang, man, this economy's tough right now. I can't seem to crack the code. Oh, wow. And you know, my favorite question is what else is going on? You're identifying what's going on. What's the problem? Where are you at now? And so they're talking you through it. If you are doing this on Zoom, what I like to do is just pull up a Google Doc and where are you at now? And then I'm just like typing, I'm just like taking notes. So I might preface that and just say, hey, so while we're talking, I'm just going to respond to some of the things that you're mentioning. Again, people process information visually 600 times faster than auditory. So I'm showing them on the screen what's happening now. Boom. And we'll have examples of all this stuff. Great. They explain what's going on now. Out of control, not where I want to be, not making the money that I want. Lost a big client last month. My sales team's underperforming. I feel like I got a whole lot to say. I just don't know how to say it. It's driving me crazy. I know I need to create content, but I just can't seem to find the words to do it. I don't have the equipment. I don't have the skill. Great. Whoa, wow. Okay, great. What else? My dog died. Seriously, people, when you open up that thing, they're going to tell you. The second step is, where do you want to be? I want to be in a place of where my business is profitable, fulfilling, and sustainable. I want to be in a place of where we can go on vacation next year with the kids and we can take them to where they want to go and not just go to some parks down the street. I want to be in a place of where I'm earning my full potential of what I know is possible for me. And I did great last year. I did $92,000, but I want to get to a place of where I'm able and I have the capacity and the systems in order to make $700,000 a year. I want to be able to not go to bed worrying about money. I want to be in a place of where I'm not stressed out when I'm spending time with my family, and I want to be able to be more present. Interesting. I go like, wow, okay. So what's the gap? Again, when you're just typing this stuff out, they're just riffing, man. This is like therapy. What's the gap? I think if I had a really clear offer, I think if I had a consistent way to be able to know who was interested in what I had to offer and I could reach out to people, and I could find a really simple way to close deals, I think I'd be in a much better place. Got it. The good news is that's exactly what I do. Remember that example I gave earlier about ibuprofen? The symptoms don't matter. The problem you solve is the thing that they're looking for, is the confidence and assurance that you can help them. So no matter what they say, unless they need help losing weight and you are a home builder and you don't know how to lose weight, your answer is, that's exactly what I do. Then you ask this question. Remember, this is really powerful if you do this on a 30-minute Zoom or something and you showcase this. I'm going to give you examples. I'm going to show you visually how to do this. After they say, here's the gap, and you say, good news is, that's exactly what I do. The question that I want you to ask them, this is number 4, this is AIV. The assumed implementable or integrated value of solving the gap. So here's how this runs down. Got it. So the gap is known. Great. That's exactly what I do. Question for you. Assuming that we were able to solve the gap together, what would that be worth to you? And they'll go, it would be priceless. And you go, I get that. But I'm talking very specifically. Like you said, you were at $92,000 and you wanted to get to 700. So like, how much of that distance are we going to bridge? Give me a range, but I need numbers. They're going to be like, they're thinking, I'm going, if you had a clear offer, if you had unlimited lead volume, as much as you want or as little as you want, with a full throttle on it, if you had a simple sales process where you could get in front of someone and just simply close the deal, where you were seen as the authority, they're like, I don't know, probably $500,000. And I'd say, amazing. The good news is it's not $500,000 to hire me. In fact, I do this thing is called commission-only consulting. And so what that looks like is there's 3 different tiers of how you can do it. But the bottom line is you can invest $0 today and 30% of the future profit that we make together, and we can get you enrolled right now. Does that sound fair? What do you think they're going to say?
Yes.
Yes. Sweet. Step 5. When do you want to get started? The minute you get that yes is the minute you say, when do you want to get started? So if someone was working with you and you said, great, what would the value be in solving that? $500,000. Okay. The good news is it doesn't cost $500,000 to work with me. In fact, you can get started. It's $8,000. Does that sound fair? Yes.
Yes.
Great. When do you want to get started? If they try to get you out of that conversation to talk about, well, how? Timing. Well, whatever. It's bullshit. They don't have the money. Bottom line. That's why I created commission-only consulting. I wanted a path for people who were willing to put up future revenue who couldn't afford it today. But that's not for everyone. Most people need to get their ass into action and implement immediately and then get a move on it. But that's how you do it. And I don't care what you do. I don't care if you sell content. I don't care if you sell HR services. I don't care if you're a financial consultant. You're in real estate. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're a ChatGPT, Twitter ghostwriter, it doesn't matter what you do. The process is the same. Number 1, where are you at now? Number 2, where do you want to be? Number 3, what's the gap? Number 4, assuming that we implemented this, AIV, assumed integrated or implementable value. What is the value? Give me a freaking number. Do not get off that unless they give you a number. Number 5, when do you want to get started? That is a 5-minute sales process. For me personally, I closed a $30,000 a month deal doing that. I stayed out of the weeds because when you talk to highly professional people, they don't give a crap about how you're going to do it. Do you give a crap about how the guy's going to mow your lawn? No. You just want the problem solved. And that's how we got to be thinking. Is that helpful?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Do you want to riff off a little bit on the 2-step close? What happens if you can't close in the first one or whatever?
Yeah. So the reason why I have you create the proposal on the front end is really simple, because you'll probably need it on the back end just for signature. But everything, again, when you're prepared on the front end, everything matches through the whole cycle and how I'm teaching you this, so it matches on the back end. So by the time you get to the place of where you need to issue a proposal or someone's, hey, I'm ready to get started, great. You're going to have them pay, you're going to have them do a signature. That process, again, that's part of your delivery and onboarding. I don't really give a crap what you do. All I want you to make sure you do is get a Stripe link and get that person to cash out, but also be true to your commitments. I don't give legal advice or anything. I'm giving you like proposal basis and different things. Like I just give you the resources that I have. It's up to you what you do with them. But at the end of the day, if you're struggling with like the qualification process and you need to do a 2-step close, like you're not feeling comfortable, don't start the 5-step close unless you know that they're in a position. If they're driving and they're on vacation and you can tell they're distracted, it's not the time to do the 5-step close. Remember, ideally you have them visually on a screen with you and they can see what you're working on as you're typing up all these things that they're going through. It's really important. I don't have to do that per se on every call because my skill and ability at this level can override some of the requirement to do that. But I still do the same process. Qualifying your leads can increase the number of people that you convert to customers. So if they're not qualified, then you need to do a 2-step close, which is a 15-15 or a 15-30. So you might need to just spend a little bit more time with them before, and then if they're like, how can I work with you? No, it's okay. We can have another call about that. So some people might feel more comfortable doing the group call than having a 15-minute call just to chat. Then from there, saying, hey, let's see if we're a good fit to work together. Then you get over to the 30-minute call. It's going to be unique for each person. Try both, see what works for you best. But it's just, you build rapport. That happens on the 1-hour call. Then you have to connect and qualify. Some people on the call will create so much deep connection that it won't matter. If you're really charismatic, it's going to be very easy for you. So you can skip the next step and just go straight to qualification. But you're going to do rapport building, connect and qualify, 15-15 or 15 and 30. Then you have the sales process, which is that 30-minute call. So that's how I would do it. You have your primary 1-hour call. You have a 15-minute call if you still need to increase the connection. Then you have the qualifying close. That happens on the 30-minute call of where you do the screen share. You should never need more than 30 minutes to do it. Most of that time is spent with them airing out all their problems. You have a simple 5-step process that can take you 5 minutes. Yep.
Awesome. Let's talk about those who either attended and also came to the call, but did not convert, did not exchange value, did not become a customer. What do we do with them? That's super critical because we just generated so much interest and it's clear, of course, that they have the same problem. But for whatever reason, whether life, money, or any other reason, they did not convert this time. So how do we deal with those?
There's a million ways to nurture leads. And so, again, we can maybe include that in the bonus round of like, how do I nurture the leads that do come in? And if they don't close and they get to the finish line, then they don't make a decision. It's pretty straightforward for me. What I tell people is if they get to the end of the call and they're hemming and hawing, even after I say, here's the value, here's how much it costs, does that sound fair? Yes. When do you want to get started? If they go, I don't know, immediately you're going to know they're not a decision maker. They have to talk to other people in order to make the close. So what you can say is, hey, I recorded this call. I know it probably sounds like if you've got to have some time to make a decision, why don't you take 48 hours? I'll send the call to you And that way you can watch it back, and or anybody in your circle of influence that needs to see it, you can. But I'm going to be really honest with you. I'm here to cure hesitation because I know what it feels like to hesitate. And I just think I know that the people who work with me, they get the best results if they don't hesitate. I also know that the people that I love being around are ones who are going to make a decision one way or another, and it's going to happen in 48 hours. I can tell you that we're not a good qualified fit if you can't make a decision on this in 48 hours. That's the bottom line. I've done business long enough to know that if people don't make a decision in 2 days, then it's a maybe, which is always a no. Does that sound fair? And they'll go, yes, it sounds fair. So that's what I give people. I give people a 48-hour window. Now, after the 48-hour window, if they don't convert, that's fine. If I'm doing other things, which you don't have to do these elements in order to be successful, there's going to be a lot of people, 1 to 3% of people are ready to buy right this second. So out of 100 people that you're reaching out to, 1 to 3 of them will buy. So it's just moving them through the process, right? But 3 to 15% will buy probably in the next like 30 to 90 days. So how do we nurture them? There's a lot of ways to do it. Number one is after you can send an email. Hey, thanks everybody for being there. If you want to keep up, maybe you do a weekly newsletter. Great. They're already connected with you on LinkedIn, remember. So there's nothing you got to do there. Maybe you set follow-ups and you send a voice note like Andrew does. He does the call every week. Maybe you call every week. Maybe you send a voice memo to them through text or through LinkedIn every week. There's a million different ways to follow up. It's really based on the preference of the individual and the time and capacity they have. Some people do email newsletters. Some people have YouTube channels and they post a video every week. You just got to find a way to stay in touch. What's the way that you like to keep up with people? You'll probably mirror that in your process. But when in doubt, the easiest way to do it is to set a reminder or to have a VA or whatever you need to do to just send a message and to check in. Hey, how's life? How are things going? Once a week. You will kill like the process of nailing it in sales by just focusing one-to-one and keeping things organic way more than you will like just with massive email lists and stuff.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. For the bonus area, do you want to talk about, I had some ideas, but I think you covered most of them. Like I had ideas like how to make sales easy, how to solve your sales call jitters. I had like how to do the small talk, but I think you covered that already.
Yeah.
How to open, how to close. So I think in the design of call, you covered most of it. Does any of that sound interesting enough for you to chat about, or are there anything else on sales that you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so specifically. I think that 99% of people overcalculate what sales is.
Yeah.
And usually it's because they market like shit.
Yeah.
So if you don't develop the relationship, then you don't have the energetic capacity and or connection with that individual to actually close a deal successfully. So again, like I talked about earlier, when the offer's a 2, everything else, the highest it will be is a 2.
Yeah.
When you're marketing your relationship equity with that person is like a 1, and you're like, join my group, and then you join the group, and then you just like, everything's about you and nothing's about them. But when we do it this way, it flips the equation. When you're instilling high value, you're like a 9. Your invite's a 9. You deliver the call, it's a 9. You get to the qualifying close, and geez, the multiplying effect is insane.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so like sales is not complicated. And I don't give a crap how long you've been trained for in sales or whatever. It always comes down to the same thing. Those 5 questions. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? What's the gap? The assumed integrated value. Get a freaking number. And then you get to the place of what's that worth to you? When do you want to get started? It's the same thing every single time.
Awesome.